Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the Saiyan Fanfics, back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Villain Deku Slaughter His Middle School. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Mikumo Akatani has simultaneously had a lot going on in his life, yet nothing at all. He was in a loop of days passing him by without a second thought, yet out of loop with everyone else. Why? It's because he's a quirkless runt. Why else? Miku, his mother calls, preparing breakfast. Did you remember to pray? Yes, mother. His voice is a practiced calm, almost too robotic for it to be human. No one wants him to show any emotion. No weakness. Here, my precious one. Mother brings him breakfast. He makes a quick prayer of thanks. He doesn't mean a word of it. Mikumo eats his food in silence. It doesn't matter if he talks about his day or life at all. It's just another day. More will pass and he'll eventually be forgotten with the rest of history. The walk to the train station is a fast one. Every second he lingers, the higher the chance of running into Kaken is. On public transportation, Kaken has to be civil. He has a reputation and future to watch out for. Mikumo does not. On their train sits one other student from their school. What's his name? Shinsu. Yeah, he has a super cool brainwashing quirk. The boy's tired eyes settle on Mikumo a moment before he looks away. While he doesn't help with all the bullying Mikumo endures, he doesn't ever partake in it. In Mikumo's book, that's practically a saint. Mother would hate it if you called people saints. The moment he's off the train and out of the station, he can smell the smoke. Oi, Deku, the fuck do you think you're going? A searing hand settles around his throat, planting his feet into the cement. Kaken's using his quirk on him without a second thought. Please, Kaken, he begs, trying to keep the urge to cry from leaking into his voice. You can't even fucking fight back. Kaken laughs, beating him senseless. They used to wait until after school to attack Mikumo, but now that they know the teacher don't care for the burns and bruises, he gets beaten whenever they see him. Shinsu watches on a moment, like he wants to help, before he shakes his head and keeps going. Mikumo gets it. He understands that the moment Shinsu protects him, he'll be targeted too. Either that or be stuck with a runt following him around. The school day carries on as normal. He keeps his head down and avoids any attention he can. He just has to wait until he can try for UA. If he can just try, then maybe he hasn't been as broken down as everything thinks. In the last class of the day, the teacher asks about what they plan to do for high school. He tosses a stack of papers into the air and yells on about how they all want to be heroes anyways. Don't lump me in with the rest of these losers. Kaken starts, feet on the desk. I'm going to go pro and leave all of you in my dust. Yeah, sure, back you go. Where you going? One of his friends asks. UA, I'm going to be the only student to make it out of this shithole. Oh yeah. Akatani, don't you also want to go to UA? No. The air comes to a halt. No one moves. Eyes settle onto Mikumo and the world erupts into laughter. Deku, Kaken yells, jumping out of his seat and slamming his hands onto Mikumo's desk. Mikumo doesn't move. You're a quirkless nobody. What the hell do you think you can do? I just thought I could try. Try. Is this a fucking game to you? You'll just fail. Mikumo feels the taunts of his classmates closing in on him. He's annoyed at the heat radiating off Kaken's hands. If I'm going to fail anyways, then what's the harm in letting me try? Mikumo works up the courage to ask, flinching back when Kaken's gaze turns colder. Oh, he laughs softly. I'm sorry, did I say you could have a spine after all these years? The teacher lets the class leave. The man himself leaves the room. If you don't go back to being just a spineless Deku, I'll have to just sever that cord myself. Kaken walks to the door, lackeys following behind him. A word of advice, Deku, if you want a quirk so badly, take a swan dive off the roof and pray you'll get one in another life. Hell, your crazy-ass mom might even be praying for it as we speak. The lights flicker and a few papers fly off a nearby desk. Kaken looks around, eyes settling on Mikumo and silently assessing him, as if he's the one responsible for the lights. What's with that pathetic look, Deku? You're not going to do anything. Kaken and his lackeys leave, allowing Mikumo time to properly break down and cry. Katsuki saw it. The way Deku's grubby little fingers twitched, perfectly in sync with a short circuit of the lights and the flow of papers around the room. Even with the light filtering through the window, he could see the fucking dust swirling around the boy. Deku isn't quirkless, but he's still weak. I can still crush him beneath my heel and grind him into dust. Mikumo stands on the edge of the roof, heavily considering Kaken's words. What would happen if I did jump? He wouldn't be sorry, no matter how hard I wish he would be. My mother thinks I'm going to hell regardless of what I do or how I act. No hero will save me. I'm just going to die anyways. There's no harm in holding out hope, right? Mikumo can wait a little longer. Kid, there's a thud behind him. I thought I was alone. He turns to find a hero he's never seen up close. The Eraserhead. He shrieks, aggressively nodding when the man shushes him. I am sorry, Emma. I'm just a really big fan of heroes. What were you going to do? Eraserhead lurks closer, goggles hiding the movement of his eyes. Are you all right? What? Mikumo's shocked out of hiding his thoughts. No carefully chosen words or masking of his feelings. Just the true reaction he initially has. He hates it. Are you okay? Eraserhead asks again, repeating the words much slower. He thinks I'm in shock or something. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Mikumo slings his backpack onto his shoulder in preparation to leave. Eraserhead steps in front. Of course it matters, kid. No, it doesn't. To you, a stranger, as sure it does. To literally everyone else on this planet. Whether I live or die has no effect on their lives. What about your parents? Eraserhead takes the goggles off, revealing his face. As far as Mikumo knows, Eraserhead doesn't ever show his face to civilian. Right, my father isn't in the picture, and my mother would say I sinned. She doesn't care how long I live. As long as I devote that time to some imaginary deity, she'll be pleased. An unreadable expression comes across Eraserhead's face. Why were you up here? Do you need someone to visit your home and speak about your home life? No. A classmate told me to take a swan dive off the roof. I got curious and just wanted to see the view from up here. He admits. You promise? I promise. Now can I please leave? I need to get home. I'm escorting you home. No excuses. The tone Eraserhead uses isn't harsh, but just firm enough to communicate that he won't budge. The walk home is fairly quiet. Eraserhead raises an eyebrow at the paths Mikumo takes but rarely ever speaks up. Why are you? Bullies? He cuts him off. I take the long way to escape bullies and to just be left alone. What's your name? Mikumo Akatani. Why? I'm going to keep tabs on your well-being. I'm a hero. You say that like I've ever had a hero in my life. Anyone can be a hero. It has different meanings. Eraserhead thinks he's smart by pointing this out. Mikumo sighs. Again, you say that like I've ever had a hero in my life. Mikumo feels bad with the way Eraserhead stares. Akatani, are you ever hurt at home? At all? No, sometimes. Ever been made to skip dinner? What, is this a sudden interrogation? Mikumo doesn't like where this is going. No, yes, anything your mother does that scares you, makes you feel unsafe. Of course not. All the time. Their conversation goes nowhere. Much like their journey. After all, what's a terrible end to a terrible day? Being attacked by a sludge villain. Luckily, Eraserhead was able to get Mikumo out the way and cancel the quirk. Except, this isn't the kind of quirk that can fully cancel. He can no longer take over bodies like he previously planned, but he's still damn near impossible to capture. There's a change in the air pressure. Mikumo hears a distant and muffled shout. No way. He breathes as All Might himself appears from the sewer. He punches the air and causes the sludge villain to be blown to literally bits. Mikumo latches onto Eraserhead's leg to keep from blowing away. That was real stupid of you, All Might. Eraserhead growls at Mikumo's idol. You didn't make sure this kid was safe before pulling a stunt like that. I had everything under control, I assure you. That punch barely had any. Well, punch packed behind it. That was without trying. Oh my gosh. He's at a loss for words. Instead, he fumbles for his notebook and pen and holds it out. All Might laughs loudly as he signs it. It's all right, my boy. What is your name for the signature? M. Mikumo Akatani, sir. Sir. I called him sir. He's not happy at the smile Eraserhead cracks. What a nice name. He hands over the notebook and he and Eraserhead collect the villain. All Might, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you think it's possible to be a hero without a quirk? Both adults pause. The silence scares Mikumo. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid. Yes. Eraserhead cuts him off. I mostly fight quirkless and so do some other heroes. As long as you do whatever you can to succeed, then yes. The underground hero cuts a glare at All Might, as if he could take away his voice with just a look. One hero says yes, but my idol says no. Once again I have no answer for my questions. Regardless of how Eraserhead would have answered, All Might's answer weighs more. They all know that. The world knows All Might's words are more important than most others. So why didn't he think carefully about his answer? It's been a few weeks since meeting Eraserhead and All Might. Mikumo hasn't seen either since. He'd have All Might's signature hung up in his room, but she only allows religious items as decorations in the house, so he admires All Might and heroes in secret. He hasn't mentioned wanting to be a hero to her since he being 4 years old when his mother told him he had the extra toe joint. Kakin has been calmer since that day. Though, the less Kakin bothers him, the more everyone else does. What did he do to them besides exist? For quirkless people, that's enough. Deku. Mikumo turns, seeing a student he doesn't know approaching, followed by other students. They call him Deku because Kakin does. He doubts they even know his name. They harass him, and when he fails to put up a good enough fight, they grab him. Please, let me go. I didn't do anything to you. He scratches at the arms that grab him, kicked in the stomach when biting his way free. They're dragging him to a supply closet. No, no, no. He kicks and screams. What? Does mommy make you pray in a closet like this? A girl mocks, blissfully unaware that yes, she does make Mikumo sit in a closet like this and pray. Sometimes for days at a time without a break, without saving. He scratches and pleads, but no one helps. As he's thrown into the closet, he sees the end of the hall. Kaken walks by and sees the spectacle. The show. He keeps walking. Kicchan. Mikumo screams, voice straining and threatening to give up on him too. There's no answer, no hero to save him. Kaken's no hero. The door is closed and for the life of him he can't open it. He scratches until his nails bleed, rams into it until he can't feel his arms, kicks until he feels nothing. He's trapped. His screams go unanswered. Then again, what's new? It's like when his mother locks him up and tells him to pray. Just like always, there's no answer. He's screaming into a cold, mocking void. Mikumo wants to tear it apart. He wants to destroy every last inch of the universe that hates him so. In the closet, he doesn't pray. He doesn't scream. He doesn't cry. He's numb, so angry that it doesn't feel like anything. Shelves move, sending bottles of cleanser onto the floor. I could always drink it and find an easier way out of this mess. The room rumbles. Earthquake. He's so angry. Mikumo wants them to feel sorry for what they've done to him. They're going to suffer for what they've done. With a small click, the door opens. It was locked. He slowly crawls out, wondering if someone was kind enough to let him out. There's no one there. How did the door open? Mikumo mentally runs through possibilities. No, there's no way he has a quirk. Calming down, he holds his hand up to the door and focuses on moving it. Sure enough, it moves. It's very weak, but just enough for him to believe. It's a sign. I inherited mother's telekinesis, but that means he doesn't have the extra toe joint. That his mother is a filthy liar. Mikumo hurries home. Inko spends her days devoted to the Lord. She listens to the gospel stations whilst she cleans. Her every waking thought is dedicated to her faith. Imagine her surprise when she brings a wonderful little boy into this world, the only good thing that's come of Hisashi. And he had no quirk. The world may have forgotten, but there are no quirks in the Bible. Only the quirkless are the truly pure. Mikumo never developed his quirk. He's a pure child. Her pure child. He is her gateway to salvation. The front door opens and her precious one enters the house. He's battered and bruised and utterly disheveled. Mikumo, dear, what happened to you? It was probably that Katsuki again. Always using that cursed quirk of his. I was bullied by other kids at school, mother. They locked me in the closet and I had no one to let me out of it. Don't be silly, dear. If no one let you out of it, how do you stand before me? She laughs, unaware of the tremor in Mikumo's hands. The unwavering stare set upon her. Mother, something happened. Yes, you told me. What else? She slowly stops laughing, feeling unnerved by the way her child acts. I got scared and angry and the shelves started moving. Mikumo, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know you've cursed us both. Things flew off the shelf and I think I did it. The room shook and the door opened. Someone helped you. Someone else. Inko shouts, standing to stare down at this wretched child. No, mother, I was alone. I think without thinking, she strikes him across the face. He's sent sprawled out on the floor, backing into a corner in fear. Stop talking, dear. Go pray and ask for forgiveness. And no, I got out alone. It was me. I have a quirk. Inko remains quiet. I inherited your telekinesis quirk. Aren't you happy for me? You inherited my curse, you fool. She gives a weak and pitying laugh. This naive child thinks this is good. You lied to me. His voice is soft, eyes on the floor where he sits. Quickly rising to his feet, he storms up to the table. The X-rays. I've never had the extra toe joint. You didn't need to. You should have told me. He whispers. There was no need. You should have told me. Mikumo's voice tears through the air and chills Inko to her very soul. The glass of water on the table flies off and into the wall. It shatters, just like her heart. Don't you see, you blind idiot? Quirks are the work of the devil. Mother, all I've ever wanted to do is be a hero and save people. You took away the one thing I've wanted in life. Tears stream down his face. He's broken in every meaning of the word. Thinking over what he said, Inko laughs. I'm sorry, what? You still want to be a hero? Mikumo, my precious one. She reaches out and grabs his face, forcing him to meet her eyes. They're all going to laugh at you. Hitoshi jogs outside his neighborhood, freezing when he sees a familiar sight. Akatani stands under a streetlight, dried blood all over him. From a distance, Hitoshi can still see the glass sticking out of his arms. The lights reflect various colors off of the shards. There's a kin floating in the air. He keeps his distance. He has a quirk. If he had a quirk, Akatani would have said it much sooner. After all, why would he take so much shit from people if he could have stopped it with a simple wave of his hand? Without asking if he's alright, or what happened at all, Hitoshi leaves the scene and continues on his jog. Katsuki remembers the way that shitty Deku screamed his name. Like his life depended on Katsuki saving him. Even down the hall when everyone left, he can still hear the screaming and scratching at the door. He assumed the worst when it all just stopped. Katsuki peered around the corner and saw the door opening with a very broken and very angry-looking Deku on the other side, his hands held out in front of him. Deku left the room, looking around to see who let him out. He let himself out. It's obvious. Deku has a quirk, even if he has no idea of it. In class the next day, Deku keeps his head down. He doesn't make eye contact with anyone. Hell, he even flinches when the teacher sets a paper on his desk. He's covered in bruises and burns. And where his skin isn't showing, there's bandages. It's worse than Katsuki's ever done to him. The question is who did it. Deku didn't look like this when he got out that supply closet. Auntie Inko. No, she wouldn't. She's a crazy-ass freak who spends all her time praying, but she wouldn't do that to Deku. Right. Then again, she's always loved the fact that Deku never had a quirk, so if he told her what happened, Deku, you're a fucking idiot. Katsuki'd never admit it, but he feels a bit sick thinking about how Auntie Inko might react to Deku manifesting a quirk. The class leaves for lunch, and Katsuki sits surrounded by extras. They snicker and joke to themselves. What fuck do you think you're planning? Katsuki barks, getting their attention. It's a surprise. One nudges his side, showing regret when Katsuki bares teeth. Is this in some way going to fuck with me? No, it'll be rad, just watch. Katsuki sits back and watches the kids in his next period class handing out black grocery bags. He can't see in them. I want to know, but I can't afford to get in trouble and fuck up my chance at UA. Katsuki just has to wait and see how this all plays out. During class, it's immediately clear what's going to happen. As Deku walks in with his head down, he doesn't notice anything around him. He doesn't see the extras sitting behind him pouring pudding cups onto his seat. He sits and immediately tenses. Deku jumps up in his seat with a yell. The class howls with laughter as the teacher yells to settle down. Deku shit his pants. An extra squeals, getting out the same black grocery bags from before. The class chants it, using Deku rather than his actual fucking name. I'm the only one who can call him that. They reach into the bags, taking out diapers. They have fucking diapers. They peg Deku with them, screaming to clean himself off. It's not a prank. It's a full-on assault that Katsuki has no part in. The runt cries and begs them to stop, arms up to defend himself. He tries to leave but students block the door. Stop. The windows in the classroom slam open and every loose paper and diaper in the room is thrown out in a flash. The kids blocking the door move. Katsuki can't tell if it's from their own free will, or if Deku moves them himself. The nerd leaves, and the class sits in stunned silence before bursting into laughter. The only ones not laughing are Katsuki and some purple-haired freak in the back of the class. Hitoshi saw everything play out. He sat back and just watched. While he didn't join in or help them harass Akatani, he didn't stop them. Hitoshi did nothing. Throughout the day, he heard the rumors of what happened spreading to every class he was in. The more he hears, the more his guilt grows. How can he ever be a hero if he just stays silent? People like Akatani need his help all the time and he does absolutely nothing. I'm ashamed of myself. The following night he does his nightly exercise, jogging. Passing Dagaba Beach, he sees the familiar mop of green hair. Getting closer, he sees Akatani curled in on himself, crying. With a deep breath, Hitoshi approaches. Akatani's eyes zero in on him, as if Hitoshi's a threat to his life. After the day he's had, I don't blame him. Listen, Akatani. I was there when everything happened. I feel horrible about everything, really. I'm sorry. Do you ever get sick of tricking me? Akatani shouts, already back on his feet. He's stomping towards Hitoshi. Hitoshi's backing up towards the water. Can't you leave me alone? Don't you know when to fucking stop? Akatani never swears. Hitoshi feels the waves wrap around his ankles and trip him. He splashes into the water but no longer feels it. The sea parts around him, keeping him drier than he would have been. It's Akatani doing this. I wasn't a part of it. I didn't do anything. Yeah, you didn't do anything. The words sting. Stay away from me. Akatani seethes, letting the water go, allowing it to crash around Hitoshi and knock him over completely. People have made Akatani sad, anxious, even made him feel worthless. This is the first time he's seen Akatani furious, and it was by his own hand. Hitoshi hates the way it makes him feel. The guilt builds up within him as he swears to make things right. Hitoshi knows Akatani has a quirk. He has to. The rest of the school still teases him and calls him a quirkless runt. But it's not true. Would they stop if they knew? Does he want them to know? The only person who seems to be keeping an eye on Akatani besides him is Bakugo. Bakugo, the kid's biggest tormentor. While Hitoshi hasn't always lived around here, he's heard of the things that happened when they were kids. Bakugo would bully others, and Akatani would step in and play the part of a hero, getting utterly destroyed and left behind. Hitoshi has also heard that Bakugo really stopped being friends with Akatani because of Akatani's mother. The student body says she's crazy. In all honesty, he's not sure what he believes. Shinsu, the teacher, snaps. Are you going to pay attention or are you just going to stare at Akatani all day? Hitoshi rolls his eyes, looking back at his paper. The students snicker. Both Bakugo and Akatani gives him confused looks. As I was saying, make sure you all buy tickets to the dance before the actual dance. We're not a hair salon, we don't take walk-ins. That joke was awful. The students talk about the dance, and Hitoshi's only going because his parents are forcing him to. They blabbed on about regretting not going when he's older, as if he can care enough about anything going on right now. He just has to focus on getting in shape for UA. He's especially glad he didn't put he was applying for UA yet, or else he fears he'd have to face Bakugo's wrath as well. All he wants is to go unnoticed. It's bad enough his quirk determines what people think of him before actually getting to know him. He doesn't need another reason to face hate from others. The lunch bell rings and the class leaves. He was planning on sitting with Akatani during lunch so he can try to apologize again. But the boy never enters the cafeteria. Deku isn't here. A girl starts. If he skips lunch, is he somehow going to be even scrawnier? They laugh behind his back. Since when do other people call him Deku? Hitoshi grabs his food and leaves. He searches around the school, even the library, and he can't find Akatani anywhere. There's no way he went home, right? He manages to finish his food while walking around, putting a carton of orange juice and fruit snacks into his pocket. The sound of someone vomiting grabs his attention. Silently, he enters the boys' bathroom and widens his eyes. There's sobbing and the sound of throwing up coming from a stall. Small objects orbit around the room. It's him. Hitoshi absent-mindedly takes out the carton of orange juice and puts a straw in it. In the other hand, he opens the fruit snacks and holds them both outward. God, what am I doing? Anything to make things right. The door to the stall opens, accompanied by the sound of sniffling. Akatani shuffles out the stall, wiping his eyes with his sleeve. He freezes and stares at Hitoshi, scowl clear as day. What, are you stalking me now? Akatani tiredly asks. You weren't at lunch. Hitoshi moves the food closer to Akatani and feels sad when the boy flinches. What you do to them? What? I'm not stupid. What is it? Rat poison? Did you get them from the garbage? Dunk them in toilet water? No, he trails, realizing just how hard this is going to be. Before this, he thinks Akatani might have wanted to be friends with him. Now, he's just broken. Something else besides the prank happened. The bags under the boy's eyes are almost as heavy as Hitoshi's. Do you want me to try them and prove they're safe? Akatani only narrows his eyes a bit. Why are you doing this? I told you, I feel awful. Hitoshi admits, not expecting the snort Akatani gives. Pity. You're doing it because of pity. The smaller boy wanders over to the sink and rinses his mouth out, then splashes his face. He walks out the bathroom without waiting for Hitoshi. Hitoshi follows but doesn't speak up. If I take the food, will you leave me alone? Maybe. I can settle for a maybe. Akatani takes the food and keeps walking. Hitoshi still trails after him. I was worried about a runt following me around like a lost puppy, yet here I am. Are you okay? The words make Akatani stop where he stands. What? Are you all right? You're covered in bandages and injuries. That night outside, he saw the glass in his arms. He didn't bother checking if you were okay. Over the past few days, those injuries have gotten worse. It doesn't matter. The boy answers, resuming his walk but picking up space. He cuts a sharp left and enters the library. Akatani sits in the back corner of the library, looking deeply troubled when Hitoshi sits beside him. Are you just going to keep following me? Akatani sighs with the smallest hint of amusement on his lips. Until you eat the food I gave you? Yes. Without warning, the boy pours the fruit snacks into the carton and swirls it around. He abruptly hands Hitoshi the straw and dumps the contents of the carton into his mouth. He's done within a matter of seconds. That's not what I wanted and you know it. Hitoshi sighs, suppressing the yawn working its way out of him. Well, what do you want? Akatani huffs. He has a lot of freckles. It's surprising how many things about a person you miss when you actively avoid socializing with them. Well, that sounds a lot worse than he intended it to. To get to know you. The words make Akatani tense and look away. For starters, did you just now find out about your quirk? The boy's head spins around so fast it reminds Hitoshi of an owl. There's a solid 4 seconds of eye contact before either of them speak again. Yeah, his voice is barely a squeak. Like having a quirk is something to be ashamed of. What's the name of it? Oh, we're not going to register it. I'm not allowed to use it. What? If he had a quirk like mine, I'd get it, but isn't it just a telekinetic quirk? Yeah, what's wrong with that? My mother says quirks are the work of the devil. All if there were ever a sentence to say in order to activate Hitoshi's fight or flight response, that was it. Scary. I don't like what I've heard about his mother. Quirks are human nature. It may not have always been that way, but it's the new human nature. There's hardly any quirkless people left because of it. He's talking to me with less hostility. This might actually be progress. That's wonderful. Well, I've got to get going. Goodbye. Akatani leaves. Seriously? Mikumo scurries away from Shinsu. It's obviously a trap. It has to be. There's no way Shinsu is trying to get to know him out of the kindness of his own heart. There's no such thing as kindness without getting something in return. That's what the world has taught him. That's what his mother has taught him. He gets to his class early, trying to turn around when he sees Kaken sitting alone in the classroom like he was waiting for him. Not you too. Not so fast, Deku. We need to talk. Kaken is across the room by time Mikumo decides whether or not he's going to flee. The door is already blocked by the blonde. What is it? What's what? Don't play fucking stupid. Kaken raises a crackling hand and Mikumo swears he sees regret wash over Kaken when he flinches away from the raising of the hand. What did she do to you? Huh, Auntie Inko. Did she do this shit to you? Why do you care? I don't. He shouts, slamming the wall beside Mikumo's head. Is it your batshit crazy mom? Even if I tell you, you're not going to help me. It's true. Kaken only cares about himself, just like everyone else. Why are you so fucking infuriating? Me, all I've ever done is exist and you've hated me for it? He can't catch a break. One way or the other, I'm going to find out what's going on with you, Deku. Deku. That's all he's been hearing. Anymore and he might forget his own name for Pete's sake. That's not my name. He huffs as Kaken leaves. The boy turns and stares but doesn't say another word. What was that Kaken said? That Mikumo was starting to have a spine. Weeks pass since the incident in class and things have been eerily calm. At home, as long as he doesn't mention his quirk at all, his mother goes easier on him, as if she's denying he ever said anything. He's been practicing with it, and he's learned it's a lot stronger than his mother's. Then again, she never uses it. It's not trained at all. Right now he can only lift around his body weight before feeling sick. His limit increases when he's emotional, especially when it's anger. Mother always said suffering was good for the soul, that it's God's way of testing us. Mikumo decides it's all a load of bull. If he could, he'd strike down everything his mother believes in just for the sake of seeing her as hurt as he is. He's been a lot more careful with his injuries showing. Seeing as Kaken is suddenly taking an interest in his life for the first time since they were 4. Makes sense, I have a quirk now. Since it's the weekend, he doesn't care for the bandages on his face and around his head showing. There's a soft knock on the front door. Mikumo, be a lamb and answer the door for me. Mother asks from her room. Sure. The second he opens the door is also the second he attempts to slam it shut again. A foot in the door stops him. Hi. Shinsu breathes, trying to tear his eyes away from the bandages. Is this a bad time? Every time is a bad time. He shouts, still trying to close it. Aren't you going to invite me in? Shinsu asks with a tired and overly lazy smile. No. Who is it, dear? No. Please go away. Both of you. Mother enters the room and Mikumo's forced to pretend he wasn't just trying to flatten Shinsu's foot with the door. Someone F from school. Did you invite them over? If Shinsu picks up on the poison dripping into her voice, he doesn't react to it. And no, of course not. Of course not. Shinsu echoes back, smiling at Mikumo's mother. Why don't you come in for a snack, sweetie? Mother invites, sidestepping in between them and opening the door fully. Thank you, Mrs. Akatani. It's Miss. She corrects a bit too aggressively. Shinsu apologizes and the moment mother leaves them alone, he snatches Shinsu's wrist and drags him to his room. You can't be here. Mikumo hisses. You refused to talk to me at school. You need to leave, he announces, pointing to the window. Shinsu gives an amused huff of air. What happened to your face? Please just listen to me. You need to go. Don't mention anything related to quirks while you're here. Don't mention religion. Just don't interact with my mother at all. I'll try and keep that in mind. Shinsu hums. Are you going to the dance coming up? What? A dance? You know how to dance, don't you? I know he's joking, but I really don't know how. I can't either. So, are you? No, I'm not going. I won't. Oh, I was wondering if you would go with me. Oh, I see what this is. Who put you up to this, Kaken? The kids who pulled the last stunt. Let me guess, your phone is recording. You'll have me say yes and then reveal that it was a prank and make me look desperate. Is that it? Mikumo feels bad when a hurt look flashes across Shinsu's face. It's upsetting to see how broken your trust of people is, to be honest. He nervously rubs the back of his neck and looks up to the ceiling. I just feel really bad for not helping you out before. I want to be a hero, but all I've been is a pathetic bystander. I hate myself for it. You want to be a hero. I'd say people who want to be heroes are good, but Kaken is proof I'm wrong. I'm proof that I'm wrong. I know it sounds stupid. I'm just a kid with a brain. Mikumo slaps a hand over Shinsu's mouth and shushes him. I told you not to talk about anything while you're here, he reminds. Shinsu tries to speak, but Mikumo doesn't move his hand. With a small yelp, he's forced to remove it. Did you lick my hand? That's disgusting. You wouldn't let me speak. I don't like being silenced. Then you're in the wrong household, Shinsu. He sighs, looking at his feet. I got you two some snacks. Mother calls from the kitchen. Footsteps echo as she approaches. So, will you go to the dance with me? Stop. No, don't let her hear you ask. God, what would she do if she hears him asking me? She'll kill us both. Come on, Akatani. It might be fun. I can't. Leave me alone. Say yes and I'll go away. Fine, yes, I'll go. Shinsu gives the smallest of smiles as he nods. Pick you up Saturday at 7, then. Mother opens the door and looks between the two. Mikumo made sure to scoot away from Shinsu so she couldn't misinterpret things. What were you two lovely boys talking about? Mother asks, setting 2 plates of pie onto the desk. Shinsu thanks her and takes a few bites. Mikumo doesn't do either of those. We have an algebra test coming up and I wanted advice on how to solve a certain kind of problem. Shinsu lies through his teeth. Your son is incredibly smart, so I thought he could help me out, you know. Yes, Mikumo has always been a smart one. Too smart at times if you ask me. It's clear Shinsu is starting to feel the tense energy invading the room. Mother leaves and Mikumo drops to the ground, checking if she's standing outside the door. She's gone. Your mom feels like a horror movie villain. No offense. Shinsu's shoulders drop, visibly relaxing now that she's gone. You haven't touched the pie. I don't trust what she makes anymore. Mikumo watches Shinsu slowly setting his fork down. See. He frowns. After a few more tense moments of Shinsu's eyes wandering around his bedroom, they move to the front door of the house. The taller boy stares at all the religious decor, seemingly more aware of what he's getting himself into. Please don't come back here. For your own good. Mikumo doesn't want to beg, but he will if it saves Shinsu. It's about your own good right now, not mine. Shinsu breathes, stepping out the door. Sorry, he reaffirms. Mikumo checks for his mother's presence before heaving a sigh. Sorry, Inko has been nothing but kind to her child. The Lord knows it as well as she does. She witnessed her son bring someone over after manifesting a quirk. This mystery boy must be the one corrupting her child and allowing Mikumo to access a curse he shouldn't have ever had. Mikumo was awful quick about getting this boy out of her house. Why, she doesn't know yet. Maybe to keep her suspicions low. Well, she supposes it's too late for that. Outside, she refills the bird feeders, turning when movement catches her eye. Katsuki, I haven't seen you in a few years. She greets, trying to hide the superficiality. The boy tenses and steps out from behind a tree. Sauntering over, he nods. Auntie, he greets. What brings you here? Forced by your mother. That woman raised you entirely wrong. Had you been raised by me, you'd be perfect and quirkless, as God intended. Inko would have succeeded in doing so if she were still allowed near Katsuki after what happened. No, the hag didn't send me. I came to check on Deku. Deku, right, that horrendous nickname. Odd to see he still calls Mikumo that after all these years. Check on him. What for? After all, Katsuki hasn't cared for Mikumo since finding out he was quirkless. Then again, things have changed. Things are still changing and Inko hates it. You didn't hear. Hear what, exactly? Never mind, is he home? Katsuki asks, getting a full laugh from Inko. You think you can dismiss me and enter my home? She sees Katsuki deeply inhale and prepares for snark. Instead, he screams, Oi Deku, come outside. Within moments, Mikumo's bedroom window opens and he stares at Katsuki with shock. He looks between the two of them. Fine. Mikumo mumbles, closing the window and coming out the house moments later. I'm sorry, I don't recall giving you permission to leave. Inko reminds, arms across over herself. I don't recall asking. Mikumo mocks, leaving with Katsuki without a second thought. No matter what I do to that boy, he doesn't obey me like he used to. That wretched quirk is changing him. Anymore, and Inko fears the Lord won't give them the salvation they've worked so hard for. Inko's going to fix it. She's going to fix everything. Katsuki didn't mean to be caught. He just wanted to find out what the hell is going on with Deku lately. He admits he only called Deku because his mom was starting to creep the fuck out of him with that stare. He didn't expect Deku to open the window with bandages on his face and a black eye. He really didn't expect Deku to agree to leave with him. Leave with Katsuki. His tormentor and #1 bully. That's proving how fucked up things are right now. What do you want? Deku sighs, keeping his distance. Is Auntie Inko doing this to you? Katsuki asks, wondering why Deku seems to chuckle. Seriously, do you only care because you suddenly feel bad or something? Feel bad for what? Deku, that's not my fucking name. I only left with you to have a reason to leave the house. Deku crosses his arms, continuing forward even when Katsuki stops to stare. He never swears. The hell is your problem? Katsuki yells down the street to him. You think you're hot shit now that you have a quirk? Katsuki accuses. What? Deku presses his foot against the concrete, as if he's getting ready for a fight. I was there, when you screamed my name in that closet. I saw you open that door, how you slammed the windows in class. You have your mom's quirk, so that's it, huh? Katsuki doesn't comment on the teary-eyed expression Deku has. That's what? Katsuki asks in his usual deadpan. You're talking to me after all these years because I finally have a quirk. I should have known. Deku's laugh is small, pitiful. I'm not talking to you because of your weak-ass quirk. I'm talking to you because you're completely fucked up and for once it's not. For once it's not you who's doing it. I get it, Kaken. Yeah, it's my mother, along with your friends. It doesn't matter. Just leave me alone. Deku snaps. Katsuki never really liked the way Deku referred to Auntie as mother rather than mom. Something so similar yet so unnerving. It didn't sit well with him. Is she fucking abusing you for having a quirk? Is she doing to you what she did to me? Why do you care? I don't. I just want to know. Yes, she is. There, are you finally happy? I finally get to experience the shit she put you through. It was one time, one event, one winter. Yet Katsuki can't think of a time he felt more fear than by the hands of Inko Midori. What does she do? She wouldn't do the same thing. No, she'd change it. She's horrible, but smart. Have you ever heard of rebirthing? Hitoshi's on yet another run, ducking into a bush at the local park when he sees Akatani and Bakugo sitting on the swing set. Every time Hitoshi sees Akatani, the boy has more injuries. He hates it. Hitoshi wants to protect Akatani. At first he didn't know what to think of Miss Akatani, but now he sees a cold-hearted villain. Why are those two together? They hate each other. The fuck is rebirthing? Bakugo asks, stationary as Akatani swings a bit. The hell? Why are they talking about this? It's a horrible way to make children grow attached to a parental figure, in a way. What do you mean grow attached? Dependent. Bakugo asks, getting a shrug in response. I used to do whatever mother asked of me. Now, I'm trying to be my own person. So the fucker wants you to lean on her again. Bakugo kicks off, swinging. Hitoshi knows he shouldn't be hearing this conversation, but the more he gets to know Akatani, the more he wants to get to know the rest of his life. Why is it horrible? They wrap you in a tight blanket and surround you with pillows to make you feel like you're being reborn. They have people on you in order to make sure you can't get unless it's through the end of the tunnel. There's cases of people dying from it, you know. It's not a safe practice. None of this is safe. Akatani blinks, shutting his eyes tight and taking a deep breath. Hitoshi shivers. He feels sick to his stomach thinking of where this is going. I get it. They don't care if you can't get out, if you can't breathe. Without my quirk I'd be dead. I use it to lift some of the weight off me. The world gets dark and it spins. It spins but you're still but falling and Deku. I get it. Bakugo tries to cut the kid off, realizing he's no longer listening. He's spiraling. She used her quirk. Akatani blurts out. The blonde stills, expression falling. Your mom never uses her quirk. I know. Akatani puts his head down, bangs covering his face entirely. Tears hit his pant legs. She said that it was a sacrifice. That if she were to use her quirk and damn herself, in order to save me, it'd save us both. She's going to kill me, Kaken. She uses her quirk and traps me in the blankets. Makes it feel like there's more than one person there. Bakugo remains quiet. Mother sings the whole time. Gospels, lullabies, you name it. I don't want to go back. I can't. Kaken. Akatani hits the ground, caving in on himself. The child sobs. Bakugo gets off the swing, walking away. I'll fuck off, Deku. I won't sick my lackeys on you. I'll tell those damn extras to stop. Bakugo sighs, almost sounding defeated. Even at the dance, Bakugo turns, disbelieving look in his eyes. Akatani is sitting up a bit, knees hugged to his chest. You're going to that stupid thing? I got asked. It was that purple fucker, wasn't it? I have a name, you know. Akatani nods. He's nice, you know. I don't. You don't want anyone else getting hurt. Bakugo finishes, I'm going, too. My mom's forcing me. I'll blow up anyone I see fucking with you. How about that? Is Bakugo trying to make up for the additional hell he's put Akatani through? There's no way Bakugo feels any shame in the thing he's done, right? God, the fuck are you making that face for? Don't tell me you actually like that wimp. He's nice. Second time you've said that. I'm just nice. Huh. It's not much of a compliment, but Hitoshi still feels his face heating up. I know I'm kind of mean to him, but it's because I'm worried. Gross, Deku, I guess. Akatani shrugs. What are you wearing to the dance? Those extras shouldn't have free shit to make fun of you for. I was planning on sewing my own outfit. Akatani mumbles, rubbing the back of his neck. Like hell you are. You can't dress yourself. Your freaky mom may be a seamstress, but she can't dress for shit either. Text me what size clothes you wear and I'll have my parents pick you up something. What? That's so nice. Thank you, Kaken. Shut the fuck up. This never happened. This isn't happening. Bakugo leaves without another word. Hitoshi watches Akatani a few moments. The way he forces himself to stop crying and picks himself off the ground. How confused Akatani looks at the realization that Bakugo isn't being a complete asshole to him. It's kind of cute. No. Hitoshi doesn't like him. He's just making up for being a bystander. He can't be with someone. He has to train and get into UA. He has to train. So what exactly is he doing watching Akatani from a bush? It's happening again. As much as he hates it, as much as he wants it to end, it continues. Katsuki's in the trunk of a car, trying to use his quirk to free himself. For the life of him, he can't. Sweetie, this is for your own good. Now, it's quiet time. I rather like this song. Auntie Inko calls from the driver's seat. Katsuki screams, only for his own voice to be drowned out by the sound of hymns. The Lord doesn't want you like this. Let me go. Katsuki screams again. A 6-year-old shouldn't ever go through this. He kicks whatever he can, despite lacking feeling in his limbs. I'm so cold. His teeth chatter, and he fears biting his tongue off. The longer he's out here, the less he can use his quirk. Hell, he even screams for all might. No one's going to save him. Mom, Dad, he shrieks, feeling another drop in temperature. His breath is visible, making it harder to see. What feels like hours later, the car stops. Katsuki cowers back when the lid is popped open and he's dragged out by his tied-up arms. So cold. Auntie, please. He tries to reason, falling behind. Her legs are so much longer than his. She's so much stronger than he is. I thought of you as a son. She starts when the car is no longer in sight. No way out. Auntie. His jaw hurts from the chattering. At least he can feel something. You think you can be a hero with that disgusting quirk, don't you? You've really let me down, dear. Katsuki's led into a cave. There's a shovel and mounds of snow. There's a chair and a body of water. Mommy, Daddy, he strains, yanked forward no matter how hard he tries to stop in his tracks. By the time I'm done with you, you won't have to worry about being another one of those sinners. They all think it's normal and fun, but it's not. None of it is. You'll see. You'll thank me. Katsuki's hoisted up into the chair and secured. He can't move. Auntie moves behind him and he feels a shift in location. The chair scrapes along the ground, towards the water. It's winter. It's so cold. He's going to die. Katsuki's going to die. His quirk won't work. God, why is he so weak? His screams and pleas bounce off the walls, being thrown back at him like another stupid laugh in his face. Don't worry, I'll make sure you live. I'm no monster, sweetie. Why are you doing this? He can't feel anything. Katsuki can barely speak. His lungs sting and it feels like he's on fire. He's cold, so why does he feel so hot? I looked up how to ruin a person's quirk. She chuckles, taking them at the age of manifestation and immersing them in the worst conditions for their quirk. For you, it's this hypothermia. Hypo, what? Katsuki hasn't learned that word yet. He kicks his legs up when he feels water touching them. Slowly, she pushes the chair into the water. It stops at Katsuki's chest. His body is on fire, yet at the same time he feels nothing. I'll be back. Sweetie Auntie Inko moves to the entrance of the cave and exits. Katsuki is alone. Realizing he's going to die, Katsuki screams. He wakes up with a grunt, slapping a hand over his mouth to suppress whatever noise that tried to escape him. Katsuki feels wetness all over him and wipes it off in a panic. It's fucking sweat. He throws his blankets off of him and stomps across his room. Despite the heat coursing through the house, or the way his hands crackle, he feels cold. Cold like the water. I'm fine. It was just another nightmare. Katsuki goes through this every year or two. He remembers that fucked up day and the world collectively backs off. Katsuki takes a pair of mittens out of his underwear drawer and puts them on. His hands are horrifically sweaty. It's a good thing. It took him a very long time to get his quirk to listen to him after that day. The mittens are to force his hands to sweat and make him feel better with his quirk. It makes him feel more in control. Mikumo felt guilty when Kaken came to school wearing mittens the next day. No one asks him about it. They think it's some training with his quirk. Mikumo knows the real reason. He sees the way Kaken fidgets with his hands in an effort to warm them up even more. Mikumo knows Kaken is a bully, but it was his mother that did this to him. Shinsu, their teacher, calls. You were one student who gave an outstanding paper for the poetry assignment. You showcase everything it means to be a poet. Stand up and read yours out to the class. Mikumo watches Shinsu shudder. Do I have to? He yawns. Yes, their teacher declares, forcing him to stand. Go on, read it with the same passion you had whilst writing it. Shinsu takes a deep breath and refuses to make eye contact with anyone. An eagle's just another bird, until he can spread his wings. A river is just a sheet of ice till winter turns to spring. Kaken tenses as Shinsu says this line. I'm sorry, and though the clouds may block the sun, don't mean that it's left to sky. Just when you think you've seen it all. Shinsu looks up from his paper, meeting Mikumo's gaze. There's more than meets the eye. Like things I dream and things I feel. There's more to me than I reveal. And cause I shine in quiet ways, I'm someone you don't recognize. I'm a diamond in the rough, a dreamer in disguise. An eagle's just another bird, until he can spread his wings. Shinsu finishes and abruptly sits down. The class makes comments, some compliment, some mock. All right, did this lovely poem make anyone feel something? The class is quiet, and Shinsu is growing visibly uncomfortable. Beautiful, Mikumo blurts out. It can mean so many different things, and that's wonderful. He rambles, covering his mouth and increasingly red face. The class makes comments about the two of them, but Mikumo doesn't feel bad about them. At least, not as bad as words used to hurt him. At lunch he and Shinsu sit together. Shinsu's quiet. Did you really like it? The poem. Shinsu's face is tired yet red. Of course, I feel like it's about you being scared to tell people you want to be a hero. Mikumo points out, watching Shinsu go still. You knew, no offense, but wanting to be a hero is kind of written all over you. A spiteful, petty one, but a hero nonetheless. It gets a chuckle out of Shinsu. He's never been able to get a full laugh. Mikumo can't recall wondering how to make someone laugh before Shinsu. What do you want? In life, I mean, Shinsu asks with a lazy grin. He rests his chin on one hand, giving Mikumo his undivided attention. To be honest, I didn't think I'd live this long. He admits. The saddened look on Shinsu breaks his heart. But I want to be a hero. Like All Might. Even if he tried telling me I can't be a hero, it's because he thought it was protecting me. Before having a quirk, I'd study quirks and heroes. You name it. I have the human body's weak points memorized for fighting dirty too. They said you want to get into UA. Yeah, I do. Mikumo lets his bangs cover his face to hide his embarrassment. Shinsu moves them out of the way. So do I. Let's get in together. They smile at one another before realizing the atmosphere. They're easily embarrassed and unsure of how to interact normally with other people. Together. I like the sound of that. We can train together. Mikumo offers, preparing for rejection. Instead, Shinsu picks at his food. I'd really like that. They're quiet a while, unsure of what to say. Mikumo's content with the silence too. So, tomorrow night is the dance, Shinsu points out, nodding to the ticket stand. They've already bought theirs. It is. Am I picking you up at your place or are you coming to mine? Or are we meeting at? You can pick me up, Shinsu. Mikumo cuts in with a laugh. It's somehow nice to not be the overly anxious one in a conversation. It's okay, I'm super nervous about it too. What? And your nervousness is supposed to cancel out mine. Shinsu huffs. We're both nerds scared something's going to go wrong. It'll be fine. It's gotta be. What's the worst thing can happen? Someone dying. He laughs. For the first time he can recall, Mikumo is looking forward to something. He's excited. Nothing can ruin tonight. Mother pleads and begs him not to go, more aware that her quirk is powerless against his own. You're to be home by midnight, she demands, accepting that he'll go no matter what she says. Mikumo picks at his dinner, making sure not to get full before the dance. There'll be plenty of food there. Yes, mother, he agrees, unless someone asks me to stay out later than that. Not that anyone would. Minutes of silence pass, and Mikumo excuses himself to get ready. They're going to laugh at you, she murmurs, not quite glaring at her son. The air is heavy. Mikumo doesn't answer. You really think you can be one of them? One of those dirty sinners? Mother, they're not sinners. They're kids. We're all just kids. He's tired. They've corrupted you. It's that boy. It has to be. Does she know he's taking me? Or it's Katsuki. He's only around because he got what he wanted. You have a quirk and you're finally worthy of his toxic attention. You have no idea what you're talking about. Mikumo leaves for his room, locking the door. On his bed sits the box Kaken left on school desk yesterday morning. There wasn't a note, and Kaken didn't say anything. It's dress pants and a shirt, along with a green vest. Kaken even brought him dress shoes. It's something so nice he never thought Kaken could do. When Kaken is around, the other kids don't bully him as much. Though, when Kaken isn't near, the kids are worse now. They're relentless. It almost balances out. Well, Kaken tried to help. It's not his fault the world doesn't bend to his desires. He gets dressed and goes into the bathroom. Looking at his reflection, he looks better than he thought he would. Mikumo brushes his teeth and washes his face, figuring out how to do his hair. Finger detangling. He uses a light curl gel he bought for the dance and flips his head over, scrunching it out. Mother has straight hair. She wouldn't know how to help me even if she wanted to. He spent countless hours watching videos on how to do his hair, how to tie a tie, and how to dance in preparation for tonight. It eases his mind to think that maybe, just maybe, he'll have a great time tonight. He leaves the bathroom when the doorbell rings. I got it, he answers when he sees his mother glaring at the door. It's not too late. We can do something. We can play games or even go out to eat. Mother tries, trailing after him. I'm going to the dance. You don't know what people are like. I trusted people and ended up with you. People use you for their own sick desires and throw you away when they're done. I don't want to hear this. He navigates away from her, darting around the table towards the door. Your father wanted me for my dirty pillows and my mossy. That's enough. He uses his telekinesis and closes her jaw, pushing her back into a chair. I'll be back. Besides, my date isn't like Dad. Not at all. He opens the door and feels joy at the horror on his mother's face when she sees Shinsu. He closes the door behind him, leaning against it. Are you all right? Shinsu asks, bending down a bit. I will be. Shinsu walks him to the car and opens the door for him. You look great, by the way. Shinsu compliments with red ears. Thank you. You look. Shinsu wears a lavender suit and a dark purple tie. You look amazing. Shinsu laughs at the compliment and rubs the back of his neck. Can I? Shinsu leans over and grabs Mikumo's tie. I want to fix your tie, if that's all right. Please. He doesn't mean for his voice to go so high. Shinsu's parents laugh in the front seats at the interaction. His parents seem rather supportive. Shinsu fixes his tie. There, now you look amazing as well. Mikumo laughs at the compliment. Thanks, Shinsu. The car ride is quiet and pleasant. Mikumo makes sure to thank Shinsu's parents when they get out the car. They stand outside the school, mentally preparing to go inside. Hitoshi, Shinsu abruptly says. What? I'm your date. Call me Hitoshi. He insists, allowing Mikumo to hook an arm around his. See, call me Mikumo then. He sputters, not mentally ready for this. All right, Mikumo. Shinsu flashes another lazy grin as they walk inside. They can hear the music echoing around the halls. It feels unreal. I can do this. The night has to be perfect. Mikumo needs a break from the usual hell his life is. He doesn't think he can take another bad thing happening to him. Inside the gym, Mikumo holds his breath. There's beautiful flashing lights everywhere. Everything shimmers. What was the theme again? Enchantment under the sea. Yeah, that's it. The air even feels like it's dyed with the colors of the decor. No, that's a smoke machine. You look overwhelmed. Shinsu Hitoshi laughs. How are you feeling? It's a lot, but I'm excited. There's people there, and Mikumo makes eye contact with Kaken across the gym. He gets a nod of acknowledgement. Mikumo never thought he'd go somewhere with a date while Kaken was alone. Everything's changing and different, but he loves it. The music is nice and upbeat. Without thinking too much about it, he grabs Hitoshi's hand and drags him to dance. I am not really a dancer, you know. Hitoshi chuckles. Neither am I. They do wind up dancing, forgetting about any insecurities they have with their movements. Other kids dance, so they can too. Whoa, Akatani, you look great. But kid he doesn't know comments. A few other kids compliment him and he gives thanks. You know, if you clean up this nice every day, I think people might forget about bullying you. What? That's rude. Oh, I see. Mikumo breathes, jumping when Hitoshi grabs his arm and pulls him near. Don't listen to them, you're great. Just have fun. The music kicks up a bit more. For the first time in his life, Mikumo is happy without worrying about any consequences. It's pure joy he wasn't aware he hadn't experienced before. That's a good look for you, you know. Hitoshi hums. What is? That smile. Oh my gosh. It's such a dumb pickup line, but it's working. Mikumo finds himself smiling like an idiot. Other kids talk to him, and he's able to loosen up. Maybe when this is over and school is back to normal, they'll be friends with me. It's a lovely thought. The dance goes on a while. A slow song comes on. Mikumo prepares to sit down at a table. Oh, you don't want to dance. Hitoshi extends a hand, chuckling when Mikumo takes it with no hesitation. They move back to the dance floor. Every second he's here, the more Katsuki hates it. Hell, he could be training for UA instead of leaning against this stupid wall. His lackeys talk to him every once in a while, but Katsuki gets the odd feeling it's not genuine, that it's to distract him from something. They're going behind his back. Extras talk to Deku and the kid eats it right up. He may not see it, but Katsuki sees the looks on their faces. How the second Deku turns away, they snicker. Deku's date doesn't see it either. At least Deku has someone who's being genuine towards him. Katsuki watches their exchanges, eyes on them as they begin to slow dance. Deku looks so happy to be here. For once, Katsuki doesn't want to crush the nerd's dreams. For the first time in his life, Katsuki will be a bystander and just let Deku live. The two move closer as the song goes on, exchanging words Katsuki can't make out clearly. They kiss, barely a peck but enough to make Deku look like he'll faint. The nerds laugh, resting on each other. Katsuki never realized just how unhappy Deku has actually been all these years. How he was such a major part of making his life a living hell and he never cared about it until recently. What kind of hero can I be? He wants to rationalize it and say he bullied Deku to keep him from getting himself killed trying to be a hero. He wants to, but he can't. No, Katsuki's just a dick. It's obvious. Oi, the fuck are you guys laughing about? Katsuki asks the kids setting the balance on each table. Katsuki picks up a paper when they ignore him, promptly crumbling the paper with his quirk. Deku and the purple-haired freak are candidates for prom heroes. Katsuki still thinks it's rather stupid to call the winners prom heroes when the theme of the dance is fish and shit. Why is Deku a candidate? This has to be a mistake. No, it's a trap. The moment Katsuki shows any alertness to what's going on, the student body avoids him like the plague. Even threatening them does nothing. They're all in it. Deku doesn't stand a chance. He kissed me. Oh my gosh, he kissed me. Mikumo is head over heels, his heart's beating in his throat as Hitoshi walks him to the table. They sit down to eat and Hitoshi gawks at a stack of papers. Mikumo, he asks, handing him one. Mikumo and Hitoshi are candidates to win prom heroes. How did? I don't understand. What do we do? Mikumo asks, who do we vote for? I say fuck it, let's vote for ourselves. Hitoshi picks up a pen and checks their names off. Mikumo does the same. He's right. We deserve to have it all tonight. Mikumo is feeling, dare he say, confident. My parents said I could stay out late tonight. I thought maybe we could go to one of those 24-hour diners and walk around a bit. Mikumo thinks it over. I mean, you don't have to. I just thought I'd offer. I'd love to. Mikumo cuts in. Hitoshi smiles sweetly at him. They watch on as a teacher moves to the stage. People collect their ballots. All right, kids. The ballots are being counted as we speak. After a few moments, one of Kaken's friends bring over a paper with the results. The prom heroes of this dance are Mikumo Akatani and Hitoshi Shinzu. We won. Hitoshi grabs his hand and escorts him up. They face the teachers holding their crowns as they're set onto their heads. In the back of the crowd, Kaken screams, "No, Deku, you can't be the winner." Kaken tries fighting his way up the front, but the teachers hold him back. He is forcibly removed from the gym. I'm going to see if there's an issue. All right. Hitoshi offers, squeezing Mikumo's elbow. Kaken didn't want me to win. Weird. Just when I thought he was being nicer. Pull the cord. There's a shout above him. He looks up to see a bucket hanging over his head. The world slows down to a halt as the bucket tilts, spilling red all over Mikumo. He screams and rubs it out of his eyes. Blood. It's blood. It's all right. He can do this. He can do this. It's fine. It'll all be fine. We were going to use pig shit. Kaken's lackeys saunter over, each holding buckets. But we didn't want to touch it. So we settled for pig's blood instead. Pig's blood. Please don't. Mikumo whimpers, watching as the lights go out around him. He's mentally shutting down, fury bubbling inside of him. They scream and taunt, throwing the buckets without another thought. The tables surrounding him flip, spilling water and juice all over the floor. The lights hung around the gym hit the ground, severed by Mikumo's quirk pulling on them. Deku. They chant. Fuck you, Deku. That's not my name. He sobs, unable to scrub the blood off of him. Deku. Fuck you, Deku. That's not my name. He screams, shoving his hands forward. Students fly back into the spilled beverages on the floor. They're electrocuted, hitting the ground and convulsing. Students scream for their lives. He hurt the students like they've hurt him. They're suffering and Mikumo feels better. In fact, he feels great. A lackey tries to stop him. Mikumo takes the punches and smiles, turning his attention to the boy. He extends his hands once more. With a little shove, Mikumo breaks. His name is Hitoshi Shinzu. He'll have me home by midnight. He mutters, snapping the lackey's neck like a twig. Everyone flees for the exits, horrifically screaming when Mikumo blocks the exits with table. An eagle is just another bird until he spreads his wings. He hisses, attacking anyone who comes near. His telekinesis is stronger when he's emotional. Teachers beg him to stop and move to restrain him. One teacher he crushes the windpipe of, the other he pulls her eyes right out of her skull. Even as he slaughters them all, they call him Deku. He gets no respect even in their final moments. Katsuki found out what the hell was going on, kicked out when he tried to stop it. He managed to get onto the roof of the school, looking in through a window near the gym's ceiling. It's too late. Katsuki was too late. Bodies litter the floor as Deku snaps necks left and right. The lackeys and more determined bullies are quite literally torn apart limb from limb. Katsuki screams, slamming his hands on the glass. Looking at Deku, he can't use his quirk. He's cold. It's too cold for his quirk. People are dying and he's still a fucking bystander. Deku, stop. He screams, still hitting the window. It's a massacre. Deku has a small smile on his face. He's muttering. Katsuki faintly hears a student yell Deku. Doesn't anybody ever get it right? Doesn't anybody think that I hear? Deku screams, bringing the rafters down on the remainder of the kids. Deku screams, blowing the windows out with his quirk. Katsuki puts his arms up to brace but is thrown off the roof. Katsuki feels the air whipping around him before he hits the ground. The world before him goes dark. Everyone's screaming and people are hitting the ground at the hands of his date. Hitoshi barely avoided being electrocuted and trampled. Everyone is dead except for he and Mikumo. He takes a step forward, flinching when Mikumo stares at him with those expressionless eyes. Mikumo slowly approaches, going on his toes and giving Hitoshi a kiss on the cheek. He watches Mikumo walk to the exit. The floor and walls are covered in blood. Goodbye, Hitoshi. Mikumo laughs, leaving entirely. Hitoshi takes a step and feels the change in the air. Mikumo uses his quirk to throw 2 tables at Hitoshi. The world's burning. The world's crumbling and burning and it's a fucked up place. Still, Mikumo carries on. He leaves a trail of blood as he walks down the street towards his home. A car stops before hitting him, honking and screaming to get out the way. Mikumo flips the car over him and crushes it. There's no more screaming. He opens the door to his home, seeing his mother at the table. Mother, something happened. He whimpers, you were right. They all made fun of me. They all laughed at me. He cries. Mother looks up at him, eyes taking in the sight of blood. Please hold me. Of course, sweetie. She holds her arms out as he collapses onto the floor, head in her lap. He freely sobs. Of course, sweetie. Inko replies, watching her sinful child barrel towards her. Still, she holds him, stroking his stained hair as he bawls his eyes out. He's covered in blood that's not his own. While she's curious as to what happened, she hardly cares for it. It's all right, we can pray for forgiveness. It has to be now. From the kitchen, Inko uses her quirk to grab a knife and slowly reel it towards them. This way we can still both have salvation. The Lord will forgive you. I'll save us both. I'll fix everything. She slowly reaches up and grabs the handle, other hand still stroking her son's hair. Are you feeling any better? Inko asks. Mikumo nods against her leg. He's shaking uncontrollably. A little. Good, good. She coos, raising the knife. I promise everything will be all right. With a rough motion she brings down the knife, impaling her child in the side. His head shoots up and hits hers. His eyes are wide and fearful. Ther. He scrambles away from her. He's still alive. He moves back, hitting the wall at the end of the hallway. Mikumo pleads for his life. It'll be over soon, sweetie. This is the only way the Lord will forgive us. I promise everything will work out, she assures. Inko can feel her heart beating madly in her chest. Within 10 feet of her child, it stops. She can no longer hear her heart pulsing as Mikumo holds a hand up to her. Her chest aches and she's brought to her knees. Her entire being hurts and screams out for help. Within seconds, it all closes in on her. As she dies, she sees no light, no salvation. In fact, Inko sees nothing. There is nothing. Shout is on his patrol, not much to do. Passing by a tech shop, he sees the TVs in the window all running the same channel. He feels his blood run cold when he hears a familiar name with the breaking news banner flashing across the screen. Is this a case of a middle schooler simply pushed afar by his peers? Mikumo Akatani was bullied to the point of attempting to slaughter everyone who attended the last dance of the boy's middle school career. With a lack of witnesses, it's hard to say exactly what happened. Akatani is a child who was bullied for being quirkless, and it is still unclear how he went on to kill majority of the student body. The newscaster drones on about what happened. Shouta finds himself shaking. Yes, he was still checking up on the kid, but he wasn't good enough. He still failed. Shouta knows he's not responsible for this massacre, but deep down, it feels like he is. There are very few survivors of this tragedy. The body of the boy's mother has been found in their home, as well as a significant amount of blood belonging to Akatani was found. Does searching this home give us the answers regarding who exactly was Akatani and what caused this boy to snap? Well, folks, upon inspection it appears Akatani killed his mother in self-defense. Do they have him in custody? As for Akatani himself, a body has yet to be found. Katsuki wakes up in a cold sweat, the 4th time this week. Surprisingly, it's a low number compared to other weeks. Then again, the week isn't over yet. Katsuki hates himself for everything that happened. It happened months ago, closer to a year ago than it is to today. Yet it feels like it's just happened. It's still happening, every time he closes his eyes. Every time it gets too quiet he hears the screaming and the creaking metal of things being tossed around without weight. He looks at his reflection in the bathroom mirror, heaving and trying to catch his breath. Those red eyes staring back at him make him nauseous. Red. It's all he sees behind his eyelids. The color screams at him to remember the pig's blood and how it began to brown on the floors, mixing with the fresh red leaking from the victims. Above his left eye is a small cut from one of the glass shards. Those fuckers said I was lucky to survive that sort of fall. As if I'm that weak. Katsuki knows he's weak, though he's strong enough to consider it. Katsuki didn't do shit that night and it'll haunt him the rest of his life. How can he be a hero when one singular tragedy has this sort of effect on him? How do heroes do this? Hopefully, there'll be a course or something at UA about the mental strains of heroics. If not, Katsuki will raise hell until there is one. No one deserves to feel how he does right now. A soft knocking on the door causes him to jump. Katsuki curses under his breath. Katsuki, you okay in there? The old hag asks, concerning tone lacing every word. I'm fine, he answers, head low. They've been smothering him since the incident. Hell, everyone has. After all, 2 people knew Deku better than anyone else. Katsuki's one of them, whether he signed up for it or not. Katsuki, I said I'm fine. He can already hear the stupid pity in her voice. Well, remember to pack everything for school. Breakfast is on the table. His mother leaves the door. He waits an extra minute. Right, today is his first day at UA. It almost feels small compared to everything he's been dealing with. Well, he might as well go and become the greatest hero. Not only to prevent shit like this from ever happening again, but to catch Deku. As long as they don't have the body, I'll believe the fucker's alive. After all, Deku grew able to withstand brutal beatings and injuries and carried on as normal. He's alive. He has to be. Katsuki finishes getting ready for school and forces down the food his mother made. It tastes like nothing. For a long time now, nothing has had a taste, smells, or distant. His hands feel numb unless they're using his quirk or fighting. Katsuki knows it's just his mind fucking with him. It'll pass. Hitoshi stares at the tie with his uniform, unable to even touch it. He can't wear it. He won't. Since that night, anything around his neck makes him think of the snapping of the other students' necks. It reminds him of just how easy it is to strangle someone. Well, that and the fact that he can no longer tie a tie. He hasn't learned very much about living with one arm. Akatani threw the tables at him. He made it out with major bruising and a concussion. As for his arm, where the tables collided slammed just under his left armpit, the pain was nothing like he's ever felt in his life. Within seconds of being pinned down, he lost consciousness. With a deep breath, he leaves his house. The walk to the train station is quiet. He likes that. Lately, too much noise reminds him of the noises of the massacre. All he wants is for it to be quiet. I'll have to talk to my homeroom teacher about not wearing my tie. Hitoshi packed it just in case he does have to wear it. Today's not the day to focus on what happened, not the day to focus on what he can no longer do. No, today he's going to UA High. Apparently, they thought it was rather interesting that he tried for the exam after all that's happened. Even greater that he gotten solely on rescue points. Every time someone was in danger, I forgot about the exam. I just thought of the dance and how they all would have died and my feet started moving. Every time an examinee faced danger, Hitoshi was suddenly back in that gym, trying anything to save his classmates. Hitoshi shakes his head. Not the time for a breakdown. Time passes, and before he realizes it, he's shuffling towards his classroom. Hitoshi made sure to get there earlier than other kids. In Class 1A, he walks in to meet the eyes of a loud boy from the exam. The boy is already out of his seat, but stands back when he sees Hitoshi flinch away a bit. His eyes settle on the space where Hitoshi no longer has an arm. They said I could roll the sleeves or tuck it in like the rest of my shirts, but the blazer is too thick. The school tailored it to be a much shorter sleeve for him. Strangely enough, people often ask if his quirk has something to do with his arm. Hitoshi can imagine the stories people could think up if they knew his quirk was actually just brainwashing. They'd ask if I got this from someone defending themselves from me and my villainous quirk. I'm Tenya Ida of Hitoshi Shinzu. He cuts Ida off, already feeling a headache. Ida seems to get the hint. I look forward to learning with you this year. Ida allows Hitoshi to find his seat. Once there, he slumps down and rests his head. Looking up through half-lidded eyes, he reads the rest of the seating chart. Oh, Bakugu's here too. He hasn't seen Bakugu since the incident. They shut down the school and split the students up by address. He's 2 seats ahead of him. His eyes close and he feels himself drifting into sleep. His eyes open when he feels someone watching him. Hitoshi opens his eyes and gets a hand thrown over his mouth when he tries to scream. This can't be real. You can't be here. He feels sick. Long time no see, Hitoshi. Akatani's voice is low and tired. His freckles are covered up by makeup and he has much shorter hair than before. The bags under the boy's eyes rival Hitoshi's. After being sure Hitoshi won't scream again, Akatani lets him go. Aka, Midoriya. The boy corrects. Midoriya. It's a fake name. Hitoshi looks past him and up to the board. Izuku Midoriya is the seat in front of him. My name is Izuku Midoriya. It's nice to meet you. Katsuki hears the loud class behind the door. It eases his nerves a bit to hear the silence being filled. Opening the door, he finds his seat with his head down. He gets into an argument with a shitty 4-eyed nerd about his feet on the desk. A round-faced girl walks in and Katsuki sees her face lighting up. Oh, you're here. She shouts to someone behind Katsuki. I never got to thank you for saving me. She runs over behind him and speaks to the person. You don't have to thank me. I just did what needed to be done. The voice sends chills down his spine. He knows that voice, but it's not yet known whose voice it is. It's a memory, locked away and refusing to be remembered. Don't turn around. Don't look. It's just the voice of a ghost. A coincidence. I have been standing here for 8 seconds and none of you have yet to quiet down. A man holds a yellow sleeping bag, standing in the doorway. Put on the uniforms left in the locker room for you and meet me outside. We're having a little test. Katsuki would usually linger behind the class, but he doesn't want to see whose voice that was. I'm not fucking scared. Once in the locker room, he changes and leaves without any hesitation. He's first out to the field. The teacher eyes him with a calculating look, like Deku would when analyzing quirks and heroes. Katsuki Bakugu. The man starts. I am aware of what happened at your last school. Katsuki freezes, taking in the look on the man's face. That's guilt. Why does that man look guilty? If anyone should be guilty, it's him. You can take breaks when you need to if it gets to be too much. Ask for certain things that'll make it easier for you to learn for the time being. Usually Katsuki would be yelling at this guy to fuck off, that he doesn't need any handouts. Thanks, he manages. Katsuki can tell this man knows more than what was shown on the news, that he was somehow involved. Sir, another student with purple hair comes out, and Katsuki realizes who it is. Shinsu, the fuck are you doing here? Katsuki sees the gap in the boy's figure, the lack of an arm. Shinsu was the sole survivor of the gym. Katsuki wasn't in the room when it happened, so there were different experiences for the two. Deku still tried to kill him, They say that amongst the silence of the dead, Shinsu's screams echoed. No one came to help him for a very long time. Aizawa is my name. Aizawa corrects the use of the word sir. What is it, Shinsu? My parents already talked to the school about everything that happened, but some things weren't really discussed. Like, well, I was wondering if I would get in trouble for not wearing my tie. It's just, I can't have anything around my neck without thinking of, Aizawa's expression softens as Shinsu speaks. You don't have to do something if you're not comfortable with it. Don't want to wear the tie? Then don't. I don't care. Aizawa's saying he doesn't care, but it's painfully obvious that he does. One by one the class shuffles in, allowing Katsuki to see who he'll be dealing with this year. They're all just extras. It's obvious that he'll be the top of the class. Green hair comes around the corner, and Katsuki feels his heart pounding. No, Deku's eyes land on Katsuki and he breaks out into a grin. Katsuki's on his feet, slowly approaching. He doesn't know how to feel. He's terrified of the conflicting emotions at seeing Deku alive and well after all this time. Deku, Katsuki screams, getting the class's attention. He sprints and tackles the boy, ready to attack. I don't know who Deku is. My name is Izuku Midoriya. It's an act. Bullshit. Katsuki uses his quirk and prepares to strike Deku. That is, before he can no longer breathe. Katsuki chokes, unable to push air with his lungs at all. I've been training a lot with my quirk. One wrong move, Kaken, and you're dead. I'm going to be a hero and you can't and won't stop me. Shouta watches Katsuki Bakugo scream and tackle another student on sight. When Shouta sees which student, he can understand why. This boy looks frighteningly similar to Akatani Mikumo. Guilt bubbles up whenever Shouta looks at him. This child is caught up in something far bigger than him and he doesn't even know it. He feels bad for this student. He'll try his best not to treat him differently. Bakugo, that's enough. Shouta starts, running over and dropping to help Bakugo. The boy is grabbing at his chest and throat, unable to breathe. He worked himself into a panic attack. All at once, Bakugo heaves a large breath, hacking and struggling for air. It's him. Bakugo rasps, spit falling from his mouth to the grass. It's Deku. He's a fucking killer. Shouta looks between the two. Midoriya looks terrified and confused beyond belief. I am so sorry if I scared you. The boy shrieks to Bakugo, flinching back when glared at by the other student. Drop the act, you little shit. Bakugo shouts, making another attempt at harming Midoriya. Shouta restrains the boy. Bakugo, this isn't Akatani. No one is going to hurt you. Either you attempt to settle down or I send you to the nurses and you miss the class. Your choice. I can't expel someone for having trauma. He just needs a little help. You're going to regret letting this freak into UA. Bakugo hisses, wiping spit from his chin and moving to the rest of the class. Midoriya stays back in fear. I'm sorry. Bakugo was reminded of someone he knew. Try to avoid him and let us know if he gives you any trouble. Yes, sir. Midoriya stutters. Are you Eraserhead by any chance? He recognized me. He nods, curious. I'm a big fan. You have a very unique fighting style and your capture weapon looks incredible up close. It's sad, really. Shouta remembers that Akatani recognized him that easily too. Looks like you two may be a lot more similar than I thought. The class moves on to the actual exercise, listening to Shouta explain what they're going to do. Whoever comes in last will be expelled. He announces, since you all think this will be, what was it you said? Fun. They need to be fully aware of the life they're signing up for. They groan and complain, yet move back to watch someone throw the ball. Bakugo, you came in first. Do you want to throw the ball to demonstrate using a quirk to help it? Usually he'd just tell the kid to do the exercise, but there are now a few problem kids. Bakugo and Shinsu need to be watched, and Midoriya may need to be protected from at least Bakugo. Shouta sees the way Shinsu keeps staring too. Yeah, whatever. The blonde grumbles, stomping up and taking the ball. In the circle he throws it, getting a nice 706 meters. After the boy is done, he doesn't meet Shouta's eyes. He meets Midoriya's. Shouta heaves a sigh, realizing that the school should have talked to Bakugo about any triggers. The class goes on and takes the rest of the tests. Bakugo excels, along with Kirishima, Todoroki, and Yaoyorozu. At the bottom is Hagakure, Aoyama, and Shinsu. Dead middle has Midoriya. The more he watches Midoriya, the more he thinks the boy is intentionally getting average scores. Midoriya, he calls after they run. Midoriya trots over, looking like a deer in headlights. Yes, Aizawa. I'm surprised he's not calling me by my hero name by mistake. I can't help but notice you're getting average scores on everything. The boy winces a bit. Your quirk is telekinesis, right? Right. If I read your file right, you can use it for mobility purposes and things that very well would help with these tests. Actually, I'd say you'd be in the top 3 in terms of results if you weren't holding back. Shouta accuses, noting how the student narrows his eyes at Shouta. The expression is gone as quick as it came. I am sorry. I don't want to make Bakugo feel threatened and I don't want to stand out any more than I have right now. Oh, he actually has reasons to not score well. That's too bad, considering they're not good enough. Bakugo is a big kid. He can handle having you in class. I can't baby everyone in this class, Midoriya. If you don't make an effort, you'll be expelled regardless of where you rank. There's only one test left. He protests. So I'd make sure I get a good score if I were you. He dismisses Midoriya, hearing him mumble something under his breath. He thinks Shouta didn't hear it, but he did. Shouta heard it all. If you were me, you wouldn't have lived to that age. A part of Shouta wishes he could see Midoriya's face as he walks away. To try and pinpoint a single emotion the kid felt while saying that, almost everyone does the ball throw. Now, Shinsu stands, staring at the ball in his hand. Without hesitating much, Shinsu sets the ball on the ground and takes off the shirt of his uniform. There's a lot of scars, all presumably from that day, putting one sleeve in his mouth. He picks up the ball and sets it into the fabric, much like a hammock. Grabbing both ends, he swings his arm around, letting go at the peak of the swing. The ball soars, along with his shirt. The class watches in awe as he gets a few hundred meters. I'm going to go get my shirt now, Shinsu announces, taking off towards Dotted. The boy stops as the ball and shirt float, coming back to him on their own. It wouldn't be fair for you to have to be the only one to go get their stuff. Midoriya speaks up a bit, watching Shinsu carefully grab his shirt from the air. Shinsu doesn't say anything to Midoriya. No thank yous, no threats. The green-haired problem child simply gets an unreadable stare from Shinsu. Shouta gets the feeling they've known each other, that the innocence in Midoriya's eyes is fake. Stop that. You're letting your personal guilt affect how you treat and view a student. It's pathetic. Midoriya, you're up. Midoriya nods with a weak smile as Shouta tosses the ball to him. He steps into the circle and takes a deep breath. What's the backlash of his quirk? The file Shouta read was rather vague about it. Winding an arm back, Midoriya throws the ball. It keeps going, so long as he holds his arms out to use his quirk. He has to use his hands to use his quirk. That's a bit less subtle for stealthier work. The ball hits the ground, and Midoriya meets Shouta's eyes with a victorious smile. He gets the second highest score on the ball toss. They're sent back to the locker rooms to change. Shouta sees the way Bakugo lingers back, how Shinsu and Midoriya take note of it while they leave. Bakugo, it's him. Bakugo interrupts. Shouta watches how Bakugo nervously kneads his palms, as if he has to warm his hands. It's not Akatani, Bakugo. He looks like him, yes. Does that mean it's him? No, he called me Kaken. Shouta freezes, taking in the sight of genuine fear in his eyes. Only Deku ever called me Kaken. There's no way it's not him. Ask Shinsu. He recognized him too. There's no proof. There's no way Shouta can ruin a kid's future without evidence. As much as he wants to help Bakugo, there's nothing he can do. You only have my word. He realizes with a step back. Correct. He sighs, tugging on his capture weapon. What you're saying is a serious accusation. We'd need at least a piece of evidence. There's no way we can do something just based on your word. I'm sorry. You'll regret letting that monster into this school. Then you'll be sorry. Bakugo stomps away, leaving Shouta with his thoughts. Why are you here? Itoshi asks once they're alone. After changing, he dragged Akatani Midoriya to the bathroom. To become a hero, Itoshi. He still calls Hitoshi by his first name. Hitoshi feels sick by the fact that it doesn't upset him. You killed so many kids. But did I kill any innocent kids? Midoriya smiles sweetly, tilting his head. You tried to fucking kill me. Look what you did to me. Something like regret settles on Midoriya's face. Don't tell me. Did you black out or something? Why won't you look at me? I remember when it started. When people started dropping. I can't talk about this here, he announces. We need to talk about this. You don't. I don't deserve to be a hero. To live. Midoriya finishes for him. Hitoshi can't bring himself to say either. He's guilty. He murdered countless students and made an attempt on Hitoshi's life. So why can't he say it? Why is the world gray instead of black and white? Trust me, I feel the same way. Midoriya steps closer. Hitoshi hates that he can't step back. That he actually kind of missed his friend. I don't want to hear that. Hitoshi hisses. Why can't he be the bad guy and let that be it? Why do I have to know that he's hurt too? After school we can go somewhere. I can tell you what you need to hear, not what I want to hear. I have so many questions. I only have a few answers that I can give. Katsuki feels like the world is trying to fuck up his life on purpose now. Deku is in their school. He made it into the hero course after being told no his whole life. He could have killed Katsuki out on that field and no one would know it was him. The end of the day nears and he's ready to make a move. To corner Deku and beat the answers out of him. Katsuki has to put a stop to Deku even if it costs Katsuki his life. When the bell rings, Deku scurries away like a rat and by time Katsuki turns the corner, he's gone. Ew, Katsuki snarls when he sees Shinsu leaving. Me, where did the freak go? Katsuki notices how Shinsu looks annoyed at his question. It's almost like, oh my fucking god. What? You still like him? Don't you get it? That's what Deku wants. Shinsu blinks at him in disbelief, confusion taking over his tired expression. If you take his side, even by giving him some understanding, he will use that to his advantage. Make it so he can wrap you around his finger and get away with what he's done. Katsuki fiddles with his own hands, the lack of sound surrounding him. It's not getting cold, he is. You say that like he's some villain. Shinsu attempts to snark, a look of realization dawning. Isn't he? Hitoshi doesn't need this. He just wants to go home and go to bed. Maybe when he wakes up, none of this would be real. Hitoshi, Aka Midoriya calls down the street from the school. I would have waited for you, but I had to avoid Kaken. He's being his usual self. Hitoshi attempts to joke, recent conversation still in his mind. They walk. Where are we going? It's not like you live in the same apartment or anything, right? He would have been caught by now if he did. Dagaba Beach. I've been spending a lot of time there. Once there, Hitoshi can see that the beach isn't what he's heard. People went on about how disgusting the beach was and about all the trash that washed up and covered the sand. Now, it's spotless. There's still trash and such, but it's organized, almost like it was made to be someone's home. You haven't been living here, have you? No, I live somewhere else. I want to know. So, you can ask me whatever you want, Hitoshi. It's just a matter of if I can answer it. Before I asked if you blacked out. He points out, did all that on purpose? Try to kill me on purpose? Hitoshi asks, unable to meet Midoriya's eyes. Not you. Never you. I know you had nothing to do with it. It's just, by the time I saw you, I didn't know what I was doing. I was so caught up in how I felt and how I felt like I was winning for the first time in my life that I didn't realize what I was doing. Midoriya explains. Hitoshi settles a hand on his own cheek, feeling where Midoriya kissed him that night. You kissed me on the cheek and said goodbye. You called me Hitoshi. What do you mean you didn't realize? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? He shouts, kicking the sand up in anger. It floats in the air, none of it getting on them. Midoriya sets it back down with tears in his eyes. You don't actually need your hands to use your quirk. I'm still trying to figure it out. Okay. If I just saw everything that night with a clear mind, everything would have been okay. You wouldn't be. I'd have my arm and no scars. I get it. You did this to me, but you acknowledge it. They continue talking, mostly getting caught up yet getting nowhere. Midoriya doesn't answer any questions about where he lives or how his life has been in general since that night. The sun sets, and the two of them lay in the sand, looking up at the sky. Hitoshi looks over and watches the sunset reflect in Midoriya's eyes. He feels sick and full of self-hate at the sensation of butterflies he gets. This isn't right. This isn't okay. None of this is okay. Izuku knows Hitoshi's watching him. He doesn't care, nor does he mind. He watches the colors dance across the sky, mapping out each star despite not knowing any constellations. He meets Hitoshi's eyes and giggles at how the boy's face turns red. Hitoshi looks away in embarrassment. I know you probably don't want to hear this, but I missed you. Izuku sighs. I know I'm a killer. I know I've made mistakes. I know I'm just a filthy villain. I don't know what I want to hear anymore. Hitoshi mumbles. I don't think I can fully blame you. I don't think it's completely your fault. Stop. Izuku snaps. I know they bullied me. I know they made my life hell. I know my mother made me this way. But at the end of the day, I did it. It was me. It's not my fault that I snapped. None of them were innocent, but I didn't have to kill them. Then why did you? Because I wanted to. It made me feel better. It made me feel great, Hitoshi. That thought alone terrifies me. I don't know what I am anymore. I'm a villain. You're not. You don't know me enough to say that. Not the person I am now. You don't get to tell me what I am and what I'm not. Fine, I guess that's fair. Izuku gets up and dusts the sand off his clothes. He uses his telekinesis to help Hitoshi up. Midoriya, I know it's fucked up, but I want to be your friend. You still need one. I still want you in my life. Izuku. Hitoshi repeats. One moment Hitoshi is charming and joking like they used to, and the next he's realizing what Izuku is. I'm going home. I can't be out all that late. They don't get worried, but they'll get annoyed. Who do you live with? Is it anywhere near here? I want to at least walk you home. No, don't. It's not safe for you to do that. It's not a place anywhere near here, actually. As for who they are, well, they're not really known yet. Katsuki paces around his room, trying to figure out what to do. It's been a week since starting UA and he's no closer to exposing Deku for the monster he's become. A knock on his bedroom door startles him. What? He growls out. The door opens and he settles ever so slightly. Bakubro, you said you'd help me study the math tonight. Shitty hair clarifies, clearly trying to get a read on Katsuki's reaction. Everyone in class knows there's something up with him, Deku and Shinsu. No one's had the balls to ask, and frankly, he's a little glad for it. After all, would Deku kill them if they caught on? Yeah, I forgot. Kirishima still stands in the doorway. Yes, come the fuck into my room. I don't have all fucking night. At that, Kirishima bursts into a smile and barges in, tossing his bag on the floor by Katsuki's bed and sitting. A moment passes and Katsuki finds himself kneading at the muscle in his hands, feeling cold. Bro, you good? You're kinda shivering. Shitty hair asks, brows scrunching in concern. Can you focus on your shit if I have something playing in the background? Katsuki asks abruptly. It's a shitty thing, but I really need background noise. Your room, your rules. He relaxes a bit, glad that he's not being grilled for an explanation. Katsuki hooks his phone up to the speakers and plays something from his playlist. This one will make it sound like he's in a busy cafe. It drowns out some of the silence that closes in on him. There's no screaming in a cafe. It can't reach him right now. Kirishima stares a moment, probably expecting music. This is actually nice. He chuckles. I never thought to play something like this. Katsuki hums in response, getting his math textbook out. They work on the homework, Katsuki helping him whenever needed. Kirishima's getting a hang of this unit so far. He doesn't have to help as much as he used to a few days ago. This tweaker just started sitting with me at lunch and talking to me in class. He'll never admit it, but he's happy to have shitty hair around. Katsuki spaces a bit, letting his mind drift. He's getting cold again. He needs at his hands, but it doesn't make a difference. Shitty hair clearly enjoys his company, clearly considers him a friend. Is this all he had to do to Deku? Just sit with him sometimes. Would it have been this easy to prevent that massacre? Katsuki really is just useless. Bro, a hand on his shoulder startles him. Kirishima puts a blanket around Katsuki. You keep shivering. And cold. He mutters, stunned. Cold? Huh. Do you know something? Katsuki cautiously asks. Shitty hair is acting like he knows more than he's letting on. I looked up your name last night. Why? You looked familiar, not to be creepy or anything. What's your fucking point? My point is, I know what happened. They both go quiet. You don't have to talk to me about it, but you can. I just. What? Katsuki hisses. I want to be your friend, okay. And friends can help each other. I'm sorry this shit happened and I'm sorry you're still dealing with it, but I can help, right? You stop shivering. Katsuki looks at his hands and pays attention to his jaw. There's no shaking, no chattering. Shitty hair is right, unsure of what to say. He doesn't say anything at all. You drown out the silence by always playing something, right? In class when we do our work, Aizawa lets you use headphones. It's not that deep. You don't have to fucking babysit me. I'm not weak. That's what you're doing right now. Yeah, it's okay. You don't have to confide in me, bro, but I'm here if you want to. Whatever, he mumbles. They work in silence for a long time. Shitty hair keeps glancing at him out the corner of his eye. Still shivering a bit, he speaks up. Can you do me a favor, shitty hair? He asks, watching the boy nod excitedly. Top dresser drawer, I have some mittens, grab them. Kirishima is out his seat before he even finishes the request. Kirishima opens the drawer and grabs the mittens, freezing a bit. Oi, what is it? Kirishima tosses the mittens and holds up a picture of he and Deku when they were kids. Shit, I forgot about that. Is this you and Midoriya? Kirishima asks cautiously. I thought you two don't actually know each other. I can't tell him anything. He'd kill him. Katsuki decides no one is going to die because of his own stupid actions ever again. Not shitty hair. No one. That's Mikumo. He huffs, putting the mittens on and keeping his head down. We used to be best friends before we got our quirks. Kirishima stills entirely, eyes not moving from the picture. Taking a deep breath, he decides to tell shitty hair everything. Almost everything. Izuku sits in class, feeling Hitoshi's eyes on him every once in a while. Aizawa explains that they're going to be doing a battle exercise with All Might. Oh, I forgot about him. He even forgot about All Might trying to say no, you cannot be a hero. Maybe All Might can secretly see the future, seeing that Izuku is eventually destined to meet a tragic end. Maybe if he had just that little bit of hope from All Might, he could have held on a bit longer and this wouldn't have happened. Maybe. Izuku, you okay? Hitoshi asks with his hand on his shoulder. He looks around. The class has already left with their suits and it's just them and Aizawa in the room. Why yeah, sorry. I guess I spaced. He chuckles, getting up. He feels Aizawa's eyes on him. He doesn't know anything. He's just remembered Mikumo. On the walk there, Izuku carries Hitoshi's suitcase for him. You don't have to. I'm going to. He cuts the taller boy off, flashing a smile. Hitoshi's face turns a bit red as he looks away. He hates that he still likes me. In the locker room, they change in the back corner. He looks at Hitoshi's bare torso and feels guilt. He sits down. Hey, I did that. He breathes. I don't know how to feel about anything. I mutilated you. There's so much scarring. It's horrible. Yeah, you did. He hums, changing into his suit. Hurry up. He sighs, like it doesn't even matter. There's no sound between the two of them for a while. You seem to go from being absolutely guilt-ridden to not caring one bit about what you did. I know, he whispers. I'm sorry I did that to you. Sorry that you did this to me. Hitoshi repeats, tired eyes on Izuku. It's not quite a call-out, but it's close enough. Izuku watches Hitoshi get ready, feeling sick that he's fascinated about how Hitoshi would change with one arm. He seems to have gotten it down. I'm a freak. He wonders how long it took Hitoshi to learn about doing these kinds of things. How much trouble he must have had right after the incident. I'm sorry, Hitoshi. He vows that from here on out, he'll protect Hitoshi. As long as Izuku's alive, no harm will come to Hitoshi. They leave the locker room. All Might explains the exercise, and it seems like it might actually be fun. He looks at Hitoshi's costume, and it's a lot like Aizawa's. Where the left arm would be, he has what looks like a grappling hook in place. No, it might just be Aizawa's capture weapon, just retractable. Smart, making use of the empty space. Kaken's costume is, well, just as he thought it would be. It's loud and obnoxious, most obviously showing this with his grenade gauntlets. He wears thick gloves. Whether it's for practicality or to keep his hands warm enough, Izuku doesn't know. All Might calls the lots, finding that he and Hitoshi are on the same team. Hitoshi looks a bit conflicted about how to feel. It's only when they find that they're going against Bakugo and Ida, Hitoshi looks like he's going to be sick. Frankly, Izuku might be too. It starts when that icy hot fucker goes before them. He never liked him. Katsuki understands it's because of all the ice. So imagine how hard it is for Katsuki to remain calm when icy hot freezes the building. The air is cold. He can see his breath and he hates it. The tremor in his muscles and the burn of his lungs start getting to him. Bakubro, you alright? It's cold. He mutters, focus less on his classmates and more on the ice on the wall. Young Bakugo, are you alright? All Might asks, turning slightly in his chair. Can I feel my hands? They're warmer because of the gloves, but now it's hard to feel anything at all. Is he panicking? Remembering too much? Bakugo, Tape Arms asks, stepping forward. The class grows quiet. It's getting too quiet. It's really fucking cold. He hisses, getting enough breath to speak. I look weak. It's because I am. It's like Auntie Inko herself is in this room, pouring ice water over him. He shudders, grounding by warm hands on his bare arms. It's okay, I'm warm. Shitty Hair reassures, realizing what's going on. Normally, Katsuki would tell him to fuck off, that he doesn't need any help or pity from others. Then again, Shitty Hair is pretty warm. He'd never admit it. My quirk doesn't like when I'm cold either, Ribbit. Frog Girl points out. I start going into hibernation if I'm cold for too long. Quirk, he repeats. Well, don't you have a heat-based quirk? I can imagine being cold isn't comfortable for you. A guy with a bird head comments. Katsuki wishes he can say he doesn't have a lame weakness like that. He does, though. It's the fact that he can't blame it on something more logical like his quirk that pisses him off. You're up next, you good? Shitty Hair asks in a soft tone. Is he looking down on me? No, Shitty Hair is trying to help him. If there's anything Katsuki has learned, it's that he can't always deny help. He turns and sees Deku's eyes on him. It's not an evil grin. It's not a look he should want to wipe off his stupid face. It's understanding and he can't fucking stand it. I don't need shit from you. Icy Hot and the others come back into the room. They discuss the match and Katsuki just wants to get the hell out of here. I just want to fuck shit up and have my fun for once. Izuku knows the class doesn't have audio, only All Might. He knows All Might doesn't recognize him. Will he if Kaken says something? Maybe, but Izuku can deal with it. He and Hitoshi make their plan, painfully aware that Kaken will come after Izuku and most likely ignore Hitoshi. Are you going to be okay, then? Hitoshi asks, eyes on the map. I don't deserve to have people worry about me, Hitoshi. He sternly tells him, and I literally do not care. Hitoshi looks up at him as he says it, giving a soft smile after a moment. Heroes, you may start. All Might announces through the earpiece. Okay, we split up and you find Ida. Or I try and get Bakugo's attention to brainwash him. Hitoshi, he wants the chance to beat the hell out of me. He's not going to even know you're there. Let's just go. Hitoshi sighs, leading the way into the building. The halls are quiet and empty. It's strange. He can't even hear breathing. Will I be able to hear Kaken? Then again, he can't hear Hitoshi's either. They go up the stairs quietly, regretting it when the telltale smell of smoke draws near. Deku, Kaken screams, launching himself at Izuku and kicking him down the stairs. Hitoshi ducks and makes his way up the stairs. Get Ida, he yells. He waits until he's just about to hit the ground to use his arms and pull himself using his quirk. Kaken hits the wall as he stands on the ceiling. Get your scrawny ass back down here. Izuku keeps his arms up, pretending he needs his hands to use his telekinesis. Make me, he yells, dodging an explosion and dropping to the ground. Kaken swings his famous right hook, allowing Izuku to easily weave under it and grab him, slamming him into the floor with some of his quirk too. You're a fucking villain, he shouts, punching Izuku in the face, causing him to yelp and jump back. Dodging a kick and punching him in the gut, Izuku gets in close. Did you not hear All Might? I'm a hero, right now. It definitely wasn't the right thing to say, seeing as Kaken burns his arm in response. Hitoshi, did you locate it? He calls. Yeah, 3rd floor, 2nd room. Come down here a sec before you try and get Ida. He asks. Okay. He fends off Kaken, waiting for Hitoshi to come around the corner. Izuku, Hitoshi calls. The moment they meet eyes, Izuku uses sign language the best he can while dodging. I can see where the cameras are. I'll keep in the blind spots. He has his back turned to the camera in this hall. I'm turning off me and Kaken's earpieces, he explains, getting a disapproving expression in response. After giving puppy dog eyes, Hitoshi reluctantly nods. I'm going to get Ida, Hitoshi says, running back up to the bomb's location. Using his quirk, Izuku pulls on the insides of his and Kaken's earpieces. I'm not sure which part does what, so I figured pulling on different things should do the trick, especially considering that a lack of response from Kaken is probably seen as him simply ignoring it. Hey, Kaken, remember that night on the swings? Kaken freezes, still fighting but ever so slightly reluctant to hit. I thought you weren't Mikumo, fucker. Kaken sneers. All Might can hear us. I should probably tell him that I broke them, but maybe All Might hearing doesn't matter. Maybe he already knows. The fuck are you on about? Kaken hisses, attacking with more energy now. Deku's pulling something, he doesn't know what, but there's some sort of trick here. There's no way All Might knows. He probably disabled our earpieces so we can talk. What about the swing sets? He spits. You said you'd chill the fuck out, Kaken. He repeats, sad look in his eyes. You and I were talking again. And you said you'd back off. You even bought my clothes for the dance. Katsuki doesn't want to think about it. That changed when you fucking murdered our classmates. If I was pushed to a psychotic break, how is it not their fault? How am I not the victim here? I thought you would understand what happened. I snapped. If you really snapped, you'd be paying for it right now instead of going to a fucking hero school. Katsuki punches Deku in the nose. Feeling the bone crunch, Deku doesn't make even a single noise. You'd feel guilt for what you did. Trust me, Kaken, I am paying for it. I feel nothing but guilt. What's that supposed to mean? What? Katsuki asks honestly. I'm not atoning in the way you think I should be, but trust me, I'm paying a price. I'm protecting people by being here. I don't get it. He huffs. They've stopped fighting. They're just talking. Is this our first real talk since the dance? No, they didn't even talk then, did they? Look, I just want to know, do you really hate me? The question is so honest that it startles him. He looks at Deku's eyes and he almost sees Auntie Inko's. They're not as cold as hers, but they feel like that when they fight. Deku's gaze turns assessing and analytical and he hates it. This is a bit better to deal with. I don't know. Katsuki finally fucking admits. Logically, yes, Deku is to blame for slaughtering all those kids. Yes, he's the one that did it. At the same time, Katsuki understands he was pushed until he snapped. It's everyone's fault, including Deku's, including Katsuki's. I'll take an I don't know over a resounding yes. Deku breathes. I want answers. Yeah, well so do I. They slowly start fighting again. The more they fight, the more the conversation steers back into accusations. What the hell even happened to you after the dance? Katsuki questions, realizing he should have kept that one to himself. Deku's eyes gloss over a bit. I still want to know. The hell did Auntie do to you? Deku's breathing is speeding. He's fighting more viciously. I don't want to talk about her. So this is triggering for him too. Did you kill her? Katsuki questions. They found her body but announced it as a heart attack or some shit. What you do? I need to know, Deku. He's pushing him too far. He knows this. I can't stop here. I need the answer while the school is monitoring him. He can kill me otherwise. She stabbed me. He exhales, staring at Katsuki with Inko's eyes. She made me cry into her lap, lamenting what I'd done. And she used her quirk to stab me. He smiles a bit, like recalling a bittersweet story. Shit. So you killed her, Deku, didn't you? Katsuki feels his chest ache, faintly. He tries to exhale but he can't. He holds onto Deku's collar, beating the nerd's face in, getting no response. He falls onto Deku, unable to breathe at all. Deku's killing him. It's my fault. I pushed him too far. He's not using his hands at all. Deku can kill Katsuki right now and no one would know it was him. There's a blur. Shinsu yells something at Deku. Katsuki can't make it out beyond the searing pain in his lungs and chest. His head feels like he's going to explode. Shinsu punches Deku's head hard enough to knock him over, saying something into the earpiece. Using a hand, Deku lifts Shinsu up, unable to help at all now. There's banging on the door. Deku barely turns his attention to it, using his other hand to hold it shut. Katsuki's going to die. And he'd never know who to blame, himself or Deku. The exercise ended for Katsuki after that. He faintly saw someone getting into the room and stopping Deku. He felt the chill in the air before his eyes closed. He felt so cold, laying there on the floor. He felt so alone. Shadow has no idea what's going on. No one does. He can see that one moment the boys were fighting like they were supposed to, and the next moment it got vicious. Soon after, it was no longer an exercise. There were no villains, no heroes, just people who found themselves in a gray area fighting it out. Bakugo stopped breathing, face showing it more than the lack of movement in his chest did. All Might was calling on Waki, getting no response from either of them. It was clear they didn't even hear All Might. Their earpieces were broken. Shadow was spurred into acting when Midoriya finally faced a camera. In that moment, Shadow saw the eyes of his mother all those years ago. The eyes of someone who's hurt so badly that they snap, that they do something they wouldn't otherwise do. At least, he likes to believe they wouldn't otherwise do these things. It's not a stretch to believe that Midoriya can use his quirk without his hands, but is just hiding the fact that he can. Why? He doesn't know. Shadow's body moved before he realized he was. He was out the door, outrunning the voice of All Might himself telling him to stop. He made it to the door of the building, using his ice to blast it down and freeze Midoriya. The seconds before Midoriya collapsed, Shadow couldn't breathe. He could feel himself unable to move his ribcage, no doubt caused by the boy. This is what he'd done to Bakugo. When he finally went down, Shadow coughed until he could be certain he'd be alright. The idea of someone hurt in the way Midoriya hurt the way Mom is, taking that out on someone else made him feel things he doesn't understand. Someone like them should be somewhere where they can get help, where they can't hurt other people. It's not a happy thing for him to think over, but his opinion won't change. It feels different, now that he's old enough to view the situation differently. It's different now that he's not a victim of it. He doesn't know if he wants answers. Shadow doesn't understand. It's been a few weeks of Midoriya being on watch for what happened. A few weeks and they still aren't any closer to finding out what the hell happened to cause that. The cameras show Bakugo saying something, probably accusations of Midoriya being Bakugo's classmate. Either that, or something to provoke Midoriya into acting out in order to create a case against the kid. Either way, this makes Bakugo seem like the issue. Shadow met up and talked over the situation with the boys' families. And both families confirmed that Katsuki Bakugo and Izuku Midoriya haven't met until this year. There shouldn't be any bad blood between them, besides the awful coincidence of who Midoriya looks like. Neither of their parents want to take formal action against the other family. They were both far more understanding than he expected. When privately asked, both Shinsu and Bakugo had nothing to say. Midoriya, however, put the full blame on himself. He takes full responsibility for what happened, begging us to believe Bakugo did nothing wrong. The face of Midoriya begging Shadow to not punish Bakugo and the face of Midoriya while fighting Bakugo are so drastically different it startles him. Their differences burned into his mind as he tries to figure out his next step. As for Midoriya's confession, it's so honest and blunt that it's almost suspicious. Shadow doesn't care much for his classmates, but when an alarm went off saying the school had a security breach, he couldn't help but look for them all. Everyone was accounted for, even the hard-to-find Hagakure. In fact, he didn't realize anyone from his class hadn't been found until Shinsu started asking if anyone had seen Midoriya. Everyone in their class had gotten worried that Midoriya had been hurt or even trampled by the panicked students. No one could locate him, and both Shinsu and Bakugo found themselves getting worked up into a panic. Shinsu very clearly cares for the boy in a way no one in class understands. It's like he doesn't want to care for him, but still can't help it. Like Shinsu hates himself for it. It reminds Shadow of his mother, too. Bakugo, on the other hand, was determined to find the boy and make sure he couldn't use this chaos to his advantage, but refused to explain what that may mean. Class 1 made it back to the classroom, still waiting for Midoriya to turn up. It took 10 minutes for him to come into the class, looking disheveled and sweaty. The other kids hounded him for answers, asked if he was okay, asked if he was hurt. Physically, he looked fine. The moment he explained that he doesn't do very well with large, chaotic crowds, both Shinsu and Bakugo went quiet. It was something for only them to understand, and by the looks of it, they sure got the message. Shadow read what happened at Bakugo and Shinsu's last school. He's seen the pictures of Mikumo Akatani, and he knows what this is. Izuku Midoriya is Mikumo Akatani. That's his theory, at least. Itoshi sits beside Izuku on the bus. They're on their way to a field trip. He's lucky they let him go with us. Granted, it was only because Eraserhead is here. He finds that he understands less as time goes on. Izuku hurt people. He killed people in a fit of rage. Granted, he was pushed to that. It doesn't justify what he did. It doesn't redeem him in any way, and yet, Hitoshi finds himself unable to totally hate the kid. Hell, he's still on a first-name basis with him, heart-pounding if he so much as smiles in his direction. Isn't that fucked up? He's not a villain. He's hurt. Then again, aren't most villains acting out of some kind of pain anyways? He's never been a fan of gray areas, having to come to an agreement and deciding that for once there can't be labels of good and evil, hero or villain. Bakugo acts like he hates Izuku too, but Hitoshi sees the looks. He still cares about Izuku, but neither of them are aware of it. There's no choice they can make that would make any of them happy. It seems that even Izuku has no idea where he stands in all this, how he feels about the mess he's in. We're here, Aizawa announces, getting off without a second thought. The students follow closely behind, and Hitoshi watches Uraraka's face light up at 13 being there. They're a hero with a quirk that only destroys, yet they bring life all around them. Hitoshi's always wondered if he could have that effect on people one day, but he doubts it. They go on to explain what the point of the field trip is, saying that search and rescue is a fundamental in hero work. 13 goes on to mention how they'll also be taught to locate survivors without drawing the villain's attention back to the scene. Bakugo tenses, looking at the ground. Hitoshi understands the feeling too. As they go on talking, Hitoshi sees Izuku step back out the corner of his eye. He looks up and feels his stomach drop. Aizawa, he calls, subtly nodding behind the man. Aizawa turns and has his goggles pulled down immediately. Is the exercise starting already? Zero asks, stepping forward. Bakugo stops him from moving anymore. No, Bakugo answers. These are villains. 13, you get the kids out of here. Got it, they answer, already herding them towards the door. The students all move except for one. Izuku stays firmly planted in his spot. You weren't supposed to come here. He mumbles under his breath, sounding like his distress is getting caught in his throat. Izuku knew. Izuku can't breathe. He can't think, scream, or feel anything around him besides terror. He knows the people pouring out of Kirigiri's warp gates. He knows the man standing in the center of the plaza, covered in hands. What he doesn't know is why they're here. Why? They lied to me. It's all right. He can fix this. He can do what he planned to do, protect them. Izuku. Hitoshi grabs his arm and yanks him away, urging him to follow the rest of the class. Eraserhead has already leapt into the center of action, taking on every villain he can. He's going to get himself killed just to give the students a chance at escape. It's heroic and unlike Izuku. Well, looks like we have ourselves some heroes. Kirigiri appears behind the class as 13 urges them to get behind them. Kaken and Kirishima don't listen, ruining 13's attack and giving Kirigiri the chance to strike. Izuku's having a hard time working through his panic. The next thing he registers is the familiar feeling of falling into the warp gate. He hits the ground and loses his breath. Landslide zone. The wind is knocked out of him and he can tell that the villains see him. Why aren't they attacking? They must have been ordered to leave me alone. Wonderful. Hitoshi groans on the ground beside him, pushing himself up and onto his feet. Todoroki is the only other person with them, landing on his feet rather than the ground. We're going to kick your asses, you little runts. A villain yells as they charge. Before Izuku can consider the risks of using his quirk to defeat them all, they've already been frozen. Todoroki approaches the man who spoke, holding a cold hand over his face. Why are you here? You should probably tell me before I keep you frozen. Frostbite isn't pleasant. He threatens with a narrowing of his eyes. Wait, stop. Another villain cries out. We're here to kill All Might. Right. Izuku remembers hearing this plan while doing his homework and feeling mixed emotions about it. He likes All Might. He cares for the man as the #1 hero. At the same time, he told him he couldn't be a hero without a second thought. It hurts. He'd prefer for the man to live, but it's not like he has choices in anything anymore. Kill All Might. Hitoshi repeats with disbelief. I don't believe that. Yeah, much like I can't believe someone missing an arm got into this school. A villain sneers. Watch your mouth. Izuku snaps, making eye contact with them. They stop speaking, knowing Izuku ranks higher than them. Why do they listen to you? Hitoshi questions with a hurt expression. Why did you say it wasn't here they were supposed to attack? He repeats what Izuku mumbled before. He didn't know he said it aloud. Excuse me. Todoroki questions, staring between them with wide eyes. Izuku makes the choices to knock the villains out with his quirk before answering anything else. You're one of them, aren't you? Hitoshi accuses. It doesn't hurt because of the gas. It hurts because it's true and there's no way to defend his disgusting actions. Midoriya, Todoroki mutters, approaching him. He's seen the way Todoroki fights. If he really distrusted him, he'd be freezing his feet by now, but he's not. Akutami, he sighs, realizing he can't protect anyone when he's given misinformation like this. As in, Todoroki cuts himself off, yet again looking between them. Izuku, why? Hitoshi grabs him by the front of his costume, pulling him up and closer to his height. You make me trust you again. And for what? For you to break me again and make me wonder how much of a fucking idiot I've been. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Hitoshi throws him to the ground and into the dirt. Then tell me, what was it you thought you were doing? I needed somewhere to stay. I needed refuge and I was still out of it. By time I woke up after that night I was in some bar. It was their hideout and they told me they were the League of Villains. But you stayed. Todoroki interjects with the smallest hint of disgust lacing his voice. I didn't have a choice. They roped me in and said they'd make a proper villain out of me. When I said I didn't want to be a villain they laughed and replayed all footage from that night. I'm sorry. He sucks in a breath, realizing this is the first and only time his side will be heard properly. So why UA? Why enroll into a hero school? They want to kill All Might. They plan to attack the school since the beginning. I lied and offered to enroll as a spy. Get them the information they need in exchange for your protection. My protection. Hitoshi repeats, taking a step back. Yours, Kaken's, and Eraserhead's. I said I'd give them whatever info they want as long as you went unharmed. They don't keep promises, Midoriya. Todoroki deadpans, nodding to Eraserhead fighting the villains. He's losing stamina. Izuku uses his quirk and lifts some of the villains, moving them towards the flood zone and dunking them into the water, holding them until he starts seeing them flail. Even if they don't drown, they'll need time to recover from that panic. Since when can you lift so much at once? Hitoshi asks. You mean without being in a state of pure rage and hatred? They have a doctor with them, one who believes that quirks can evolve under tremendous amounts of stress and pain. So he trained you? Todoroki asks with a haunted look. Does it sound like that's called training? He asks dryly, regretting it when he sees Todoroki might relate more than he thought. Anyways, Hitoshi clears his throat. Consider this your temporary redemption. Izuku, help us stop them. You don't understand. They'll kill you. He hisses to Hitoshi, trying to stop him. Then give us the means to win. The boy orders. What are their quirks and weaknesses? Hirajiri is the purple mist guy. He can warp people to and fro. He cares the most about Shigaraki, the main guy. Shigaraki has a disintegration quirk. All 5 fingers obliterates anything he touches. Great, Todoroki huffs. And the other guy? That's not a guy. That's a mindless monster. Their attention is on him. That's a Namu, a human experiment. They basically stuffed a once human vessel with a bunch of quirks and make them impossible to kill. I've seen that thing rip apart people like tissue paper. Thinking about it causes Izuku to become a bit nauseous. But he swallows down the feeling. How do we stop it? Hitoshi asks. If that's not a person, my brainwashing wouldn't work. Todoroki, do you think it's possible to freeze Kirigiri? I don't think so. Well, new idea. I'll use my quirk and hold Kirigiri off. And Hitoshi, you try to brainwash Shigaraki before he commands the Namu. They don't act on their own. Right, Todoroki can be our defense. I'm going to need therapy after this. Todoroki mutters, still following. They get a better view of the villains, but worst of all, a better view of the Namu smashing Eraserhead into the ground. There's no screaming, no fighting. There's only a blur of movement, and suddenly Eraserhead isn't where he was a moment prior. Izuku feels it bubbling up. The feeling of unadulterated rage. He has to keep it in check before he hurts more people like he did that night. But looking at his teacher's mangled and broken body makes it hard. He's breathing. Hitoshi tells him, leading him away from his teacher. Right. If they see our concern, they might try to finish him off for shits and giggles. Thanks, Izuku mumbles, trying to get the drop on the league. Oh, who do we have here? Shigaraki spots them, turning to meet Izuku's eyes. It looks like he thinks I'm still on his side. That this is going to be me double-crossing my classmates. Well, it looks like you've been out in a desert for a few years with no water, wouldn't you say? Hitoshi tries. Izuku's blood runs still when Shigaraki meets his eyes with a slight smile peeking out from under the hand. Hitoshi Shinzu, quirk, brainwashing. He coos. What? Izuku mumbles, stepping in front of Hitoshi. He knows he's not tall enough to properly protect him, that he won't last. The moment you said you'd like to protect 2 students, I managed to snag information on them from your middle school, so he knows I plan to side with Hitoshi. If I use my quirk to beat them, I risk losing control. I could save everyone, but I'm still the one who put them in this situation. Midoriya, Todoroki calls from behind him. Focus. Yeah, Midoriya. Shigaraki sneers. Focus. He's feeling overwhelmed. Even as Shigaraki drones on, even as Hitoshi and Todoroki try to get information, he can't seem to properly hear anything. All of his senses are melting together into a singular feeling of panic. Ladies and gents, Namu. Shigaraki gestures as Todoroki tries to freeze him, only to be met head-on by the Namu. Izuku idly wonders if his classmate's bones cracked like this that night too. If the way their bodies crumpled on the ground was like Todoroki's. He's not moving. Todoroki, Hitoshi yells, careful not to move from his spot and provoke them too much. I was thinking at first we could have what do I call it? A statement of sorts, a few dead kids to tell those shitty heroes we mean business. Maybe I'll kill off your favorites, Izuku. 2 birds, 1 stone. Why? Izuku finally speaks, hands shaking. I still don't know why you do the things you do. I don't understand you. That's the thing. The villain trails. You understand everything about me. You relate to it so much that you can't stand to consider it. You're lying to yourself just like you're lying to everyone around you. Shut it. Hitoshi barks at him. Is that all you can say? Izuku. Shigaraki yet again ignores him. I thought of just sending Namu on them. Sending Namu on you. But then it dawned on me. I should make this nice and personal for you. Kill your loved ones with my quirk and watch them turn to ash before your feet. Before he can think to use his quirk, before he can think to do anything, he sees Shigaraki lunging forward to kill Hitoshi. All he really can do is step between them. Hitoshi closes his eyes to brace for the impact, fear taking over him and rendering him immobile. The pain never comes. Opening his eyes, he feels his world turning to ash too. Izuku stands in his place, hand in his abdomen. Shigaraki doesn't look too shocked. Deku. Bakugo is held back by Kirishima. Everything is crashing down on them, just as Izuku crashes into the pavement. As Shigaraki tries to make a break for Hitoshi next, the doors of the facility are kicked open. revealing a very pissed off All Might. Kirishima grabs Todoroki's body, taking him towards the door as Bakugo gets Aizawa. They're clearing the area. If Hitoshi moves Izuku too far from where he is, that alone might kill him. His torso is barely held together, half wet and beating, half dust. I know Hitoshi's quick to cut him off. Don't say it. He knows. They both know that he won't possibly survive this. Hitoshi, he says firmly, laying with his head in his lap. I guess there doesn't have to be worry about what I am. Or if I get redemption? There's no redemption if it all just ends. He can't bring himself to say anything. What could he even say? The heroes are going to be here soon. He finally manages. They're going to save us. Izuku hums with a slight gurgle in his voice. They're not going to want me. His teeth are red, too. I'm going to be a hero. Hitoshi corrects, and I would want you. You shouldn't. I know. There's a few moments where Izuku's eyes glaze over too much, or he thinks that his breathing has slowed just a bit too much. It terrifies him. I just wanted to protect you. His voice is straining yet soft. Fleeting. You did. You protected me today. I know we wouldn't have been in this mess if you hadn't given them information. But please just believe me. You still saved me. What are you going to do after this? A pause. Are you going to tell them? I don't know. Hitoshi really doesn't. Hitoshi, yeah? Do you think Kaken hates me? Why am I upset you're trying to get closure? Am I upset you've accepted it? Hitoshi thinks Izuku might have expected to meet this fate at one point or another. Not at all. That's what he hates. Not being able to. Silence passes before Izuku mumbles a faint thank you, Hitoshi, and Hitoshi never hears that voice again. The moment the heroes arrive and it all seems to be over, Hitoshi lets go and sobs over Izuku's body. Hitoshi's rank isn't all too bad, but it's certainly not at the top. He hasn't been too concerned with ranking once Aizawa taught him about being an underground hero. He ought to leave the spotlight to people like Bakugo and Todoroki. Anyway, it's been a while since I met up with Bakugo, he thinks, scratching at his stubble as he looks over recent cases. He refreshes the page to read over the day's cases. It's July 15. His coffee's getting cold. With a sigh, he gets up and walks to his microwave. Rather than watch the coffee spin, he looks around his apartment. He graduated UA 4 years ago and has lived here ever since. He had always meant to get around to getting more furnishings and to make it feel like home, but he usually winds up drowning himself in his work. It's been a habit for years now, starting with his first year at UA. Shit, I almost forgot. He throws on clothes and leaves his apartment, going to a coffee shop, then a nearby flower shop to pick up an arrangement. People don't talk to him as much as other heroes, but whether that's because of his quirk or because he's underground, he doesn't know. As time goes on, he finds himself caring less about how people view his quirk. He wished he stopped caring sooner. It's cloudy today, going to rain later tonight. It's fitting, he supposes. Walking into the cemetery, he sees a familiar figure. The fuck are you doing here? Bakugo snarls, barely looking up. Same thing you are, paying respects. He sets his flowers next to Bakugo's, surprised the guy got any at all. He looks up at the grave, still unused to seeing it after all these years. Izuku Midoriya is carved into the stone. He can't see it without feeling a deserved pang of guilt. The attack on USJ changed their lives forever, including their classmates. They never experienced death like that before. While Hitoshi and Bakugo have, they weren't ready for it. They took extra days off from school. Then, as if they were in sync, Bakugo and Hitoshi drowned themselves in schoolwork and training until Aizawa forced them to face what had happened. In the end, they both kept quiet about who Izuku Midoriya really was. I knew they would figure it out during his autopsy, or when they would try to contact his parents, but for whatever reason the news of him being Mikumo Akatani simply never surfaced. He chalked it up to the Hero Commission not wanting anyone to know a mass murderer and villain like that managed to get into UA. That villains had a spy on the inside. As much as he hates it, maybe it's for the best that the public never found out about that. Hitoshi and Bakugo didn't talk to each other about what had happened until half a year later. They didn't know where the other stood. They were both tired of dealing with it. Once they did talk, they wound up being unlikely friends, and started to heal just the smallest bit by having someone to share their pain with. Hitoshi also became friends with Todoroki. They get along well. He was the only one to visit Hitoshi while he took time off from school. He came for answers, and Hitoshi felt compelled to tell him everything. Why Todoroki also stayed quiet about everything, he doesn't know. There was always a lot to Todoroki and how he viewed Izuku. He just wouldn't tell anyone about it. As for Aizawa, none of them can tell if he ever learned the truth. He's betting he has, but it doesn't make sense that way either. Why would my mentor not bring it up to me? It's been years. He's smart enough to put it together, so why hasn't he done anything? Maybe it's time for Hitoshi to be the one to start that conversation then. Oi, are you listening? Bakugo elbows him harshly, knocking him out of his thoughts. To you? No, not at all. He snarks, taking pride in the way Bakugo looks ready to kill him. I'll break your fucking arm. The blonde threatens. I'd give you a round of applause for threatening to take the only arm this amputee has, but you understand why I'm unable to do so, right? Fuck you. I'm underground, not under the sheets. That's not my job. Okay, so maybe being taught to talk back at people was a mistake, but it helps him with his quirk. That was terrible, Bakugo mumbles, turning his attention back to the grave before them. Right, the conversation almost got lighthearted enough to make him forget where he is. Anyways, happy birthday, Deku. Even if that shit didn't happen, even if you were still alive, I would have been a far better hero than you, and that's all that matters. To outsiders it might seem like he's simply talking down. But this might as well be praise from Bakugo, hearing him say Izuku would have been a hero at all. It's touching, in its own weird way. Itoshi doesn't say anything out loud. There's no need for him to. It happens every year. He doesn't know how to stop the silent conversation he has with a grave. He doesn't know when it's enough. Maybe in time, Hitoshi will figure it out. Okay, sadly the chapter is over. And if you enjoyed the video, just leave a like and subscribe with post notification, so when the next chapter is ready, you will be notified. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.